Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Ooh, here we go. This is going to be an absolute triumph. Oh, hello, yeah. Yeah. What?
It's not good, mate.
What's not good?
Got some details here, got some figures. They don't like your show, mate. The ratings are dreadful.
Sugar.
We're going to have to do something drastic, I'll tell you, to salvage this. The nation hates you.
The nation
I don't know what else to
hates
say.
me.
The nation hates you. We're going to have to let someone go.
We're going to have to sack someone.
I've got Keith out here. I think he's the best candidate. I think you should tell him.
All right, I'll sack Keith. I hate doing this. Keith.
Yes,
Hey,
Barry.
you all right, mate? How are you?
All right.
You
Not
good?
so bad. I am. Fine.
Yeah, feeling good?
Yes, yes.
Just wanted to run through a couple of bits and bobs with you, mate.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about.
Are you?
So, this is the running order for tonight's show.
Looks spot on. Yeah, looks good.
It's exactly what I asked you to do, isn't it?
Yeah. It's perfect.
To the letter.
To the letter.
Yeah, right. Well, it turns out that despite you doing nothing wrong, really, and following my instructions, you're going to have to go, mate.
What do you mean?
I'm
Go
sacking
where?
you. You're going.
But why?
Well, the nation hate it, and, well, they hate me, really. One of us has got to go, Keith, and it's not going to be me, is it? So, if you wouldn't mind just signing this letter, I've written it out for you right now, okay? Just sign that, and it's really important that you say that you wish me well, okay, going forward, Keith. You wish me well, all right? So just sign that, okay? Yeah?
Patrick, I've got...
Just sign that, Keith, right? And never talk about this in the press.
But I've got a mortgage, I've got bills to pay, Patrick, I've got kids.
I don't care. Oh gosh, you know, at least I can now say I know exactly how Liz Truss feels. But good evening, everybody. Strap yourselves in for 2 hours of great chat. The stories that have got you talking, plenty of laughs along the way. This, of course, is the one, it's the only Friday Night Feast. Woo! Yes, OK, all right. The weekend starts here, people. Get yourself a drink. Grab a handful of nuts, or your own nuts if you don't mind about that. I don't really care. And sit back and relax. Here's a taste of what we've got coming up in the next couple of hours for you. This week's Challenge Christie's saw a model in for a close shave. Yes, that's right. They said when you go into TV, you'll get loads of models. It's not what I had in mind. You'll find out who had a close shave a bit later on. We're going to try to rehome another rescue dog. Try, I think, is the operative word when it comes to some of these dogs. Oh, look at dog. Who's a good dog? OK, can you find it in your heart to give the beautiful Elder his forever home? He's only 1 year old, OK, so don't let the name fool you. And on World Egg Day, the Prime Minister certainly does have a little bit of egg on her face. More on that after the news headlines with the one, it's the only, it's Raymundo!
Thank you, Patrick. Here's the latest from the GB newsroom. The Prime Minister says she isn't resigning after announcing yet another mini-budget U-turn. This time, Liz Truss is reversing the government's policy to scrap a planned rise in corporation tax. Her press conference came shortly after sacking Kwasi Kwarteng as Chancellor and replacing him with former Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt. Ms Truss says she's still committed to her plans for growth.
I have acted decisively today because my priority is ensuring our country's economic stability. As Prime Minister, I will always act in the national interest. This is always my first consideration. I want to be honest, this is difficult, but we will get through this storm and we will deliver the strong and sustained growth that can transform the prosperity of our country for generations to come.
Well, Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves is not convinced. She says the trickle-down economics of the Tory party no longer works.
The partial U-turn today does not reverse the whole budget, which is what is needed. The government needs to go back to the drawing board, not just picking out individual measures. Another change in who is running the Treasury, another Tory Chancellor, isn't the answer to the challenges that we face as a country.
In other news, detectives say the prime suspect in the murder of 19-year-old Leah Croucher, who went missing 3 years ago in Milton Keynes, killed himself in April of 2019. Leah was last seen in CCTV footage in February of that same year. Thames Valley Police launched a murder inquiry after finding human remains. They also found Leah's personal items in a house that suspect Neil Maxwell was said to have been working at. Maxwell had previous convictions for sexual offences against women and girls. The National Gallery in London says the Vincent van Gogh painting targeted by climate activists today is now back on display. 2 Just Stop Oil campaigners threw cans of tomato soup over the sunflower's portrait in protest against fossil fuels. They also glued themselves to the wall. They've since been arrested for criminal damage and aggravated trespass. The Met Police says the painting was undamaged as it's behind glass. And the actor Robbie Coltrane has died. Scottish-born Coltrane won 3 BAFTAs for his portrayal of Fitz in the 1990s TV drama Cracker, but he'll probably be best remembered for his role as Hagrid in the Harry Potter films. The actor Stephen Fry said he'll be dreadfully missed. He was 72 years old. We're on TV, online and on DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Back now to Patrick and that Friday night feast.
It's time for a new political party. I've had enough of Conservatives not being Conservative. They've pretended to care about illegal immigration for years, and yet it's still going on in record numbers. They haven't got the bottle to deal with it. And if they did, they'd win in even bigger numbers. And there's no conviction when it comes to the economy either. They wanted to go for growth, but we've sacked one Chancellor after about 36 days and replaced him with a massive hunt. And the Labour Party. Don't get me started on Starmer. He's so dull. Paint watches him dry. Grass watches him grow. The Lib Dems are absolutely irrelevant. You could fit them all into the back of a Mini Cooper. And if you vote Green, you're essentially voting for a load of trust fund students in tie-dye gluing themselves to things and throwing tomato soup over expensive works of art. It's a shower. People are politically homeless now. They don't have anyone to vote for. It's time for a new party, one that cares about our borders. Well, joining me now to discuss today's events, and goodness gracious me, where to start, is former Conservative Party politician. He's served as member of the European Parliament, and I think in this instance, crucially as well, father of the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. It's Stanley Johnson. Let's give him a clap on the way in. There we are. Stanley, loads to talk about, but the first things first. We need your son back.
Hey, well, I heard your plug for this little thing. I'm not here to talk about whether or not, Boris is to return. I can tell you that. But I will say to you that I think the government, the Conservative government, is drinking in what you might call the last Chancellor saloon. Saloon, yeah. Because we have to get it right. We have to get it right. We have, I think, to have a fairly major change in policy, and of course we've got a new chancellor, and that gives us a chance for a change in policy. But we have to have it. And what I would say, and I say that also someone who's been an environmentalist a very long time, I'd say what has gone wrong is we have not yet had the U-turn we need to have about what you might call the growth idea, because it is too narrow a concept, as Rachel Reeves just said a moment ago. It's the trickle-down concept. We basically need to have something much more sophisticated. I go back to 1987, when the Prime Minister of Norway launched something called the Brunton Report on Sustainable Development. Why do we never hear the word sustainable growth? That's what we need to hear. And it's real. I just made one point here. The economists around the place, like Dieter Helm, make it absolutely clear. If you go for sustainable growth, you'll have much more enduring and more effective growth.
So you hope that agenda. But Stanley, it is remarkable that people chaos, for example, near as chaotic as this, is it? I mean, surely now this has made Boris Johnson look good.
Look, and you can hardly call me an objective observer, but I will say, as far as some of the key issues I've just been talking about are concerned, the combination of Cameron, Osborne, Boris, and yes, Michael Gove as well, did set this country right on few major things. You know, the Environment Act, the Agriculture Act, the reform of planning, and I really worry that we have not confronted. Why do you think today there's these riots in the street, not riots in the street, but a parade in the streets out number 10? Why do you think that something like 12 million people have joined up with the WWF, with National Trust, with a whole lot of other things? Because it's not that they're talking about personalities, they're talking about the direction of travel. And it is so important to get this right. We don't believe in impoverishing this country. We do believe in getting the right kind of growth in the right places and not scrapping a lot of things we need.
OK, all right. What do you think of Liz Truss?
I'm very impressed by Liz Truss as a personality. I've enjoyed working with her. I've seen her, and for heaven's sake, you know, it has been a difficult time. But I want to hear her make these major commitments to do things which people of my generation, because I'm talking about people who grew up as environmentalists in the 60s and 70s, they've forgotten about us, and talk now about growth. We need the economy to deliver, but it has to be the right economy. And that is that economy what will deliver.
Stanley, are you concerned now, though, that people feel politically homeless, that there is fertile ground for a new party, someone who cares about, for example, stopping illegal immigration that's going on in the Channel? If you go to any pub in the country now, you will hear people talking about stopping what's going on in the Channel, cutting down on illegal immigration. And we do not seem to have any political party at the minute that wants to do that.
Well, I am not going to start saying we need another new party. I'm absolutely not. We've had the new parties. We've had Nigel Farage. We've had the Brexit Party. They've had their say. We now have a major political problem on our hands, and I do believe this country, if you ask me to talk about immigration now, well, it is slightly ironic, isn't it, that as a result of Brexit, we ended up by, as it were, cutting down on immigrants from, as it were, the EU countries, and finding ourselves now having to find immigrants from all sorts of other countries. It is just a strange paradox. It's absolutely right that we should get on top of this, and I think that the government was and is making an effort. But here I make this last point. There's absolutely no point being rude to the French if you want to cooperate with the French in dealing with immigration. That is absolutely obvious.
What? Why? Because you don't like the French?
If you start being rude to the French, are you really going to expect them to make every effort to stop, you know, people getting to the little boats crossing the channel? Be serious. You've got to be serious about this. No,
Just lastly, Stanley, I just want to say you've put across your own views there, and I think it's really commendable everything that you are dedicated, completely and utterly dedicated to the environment. The only last point I would say, forgive me for being a little bit cheeky, but the best way for you to get your environmentalist agenda onto the map would be to bring back Boris and lobby him hard, wouldn't it?
We have a completely different relationship, I can tell you. If I ever lobby Boris hard, it's because I appear on something of your programme and hope that by some faint chance he might actually switch on. No, what I would like to do, though, is lobby the new Chancellor of the Exchequer, the unbelievably important role Jeremy now holds Hunt now holds. It's there. He can get the growth, but he can get the right kind of growth, and he can bring, of course, the fiscal stability. Let's not forget about the fiscal stability. That's what we're pointing about here.
Stanley, can I just say it's an honour to actually interview you. Thank you very much. And I highly commend your ability to bring absolutely every single question back to your key issue, which is the environment. Deeply skilled, my good man. Stanley Johnson there, the father of our former Prime Minister. Well done, Stanley. Right, OK. I think you can hear them clapping there, because joining me now is hotshot journalist for Guido Fawkes. It's Christian Calgie, and actor and comedian. It is Lewis Schaffer, whose name I've just butchered. Apologies, Lewis. How are you?
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Quick reaction. Do you want a new political party?
I'm not allowed to be a political party because I am an American, which is a political party in and of itself. They don't let us...
But you can have an observation. I mean, I'm not American, but I think Biden's an absolute shower, you know?
Do you know what? I think this country needs a whole new political system. You cannot have a political party unless you have a whole new political system, because there's no place for individuals to step forward and to...
Interesting point, because now, not just the case for a new political party, Christian Calgie of Guido Fawkes, the case, potentially, for a new political system. PR, proportional representation. Oh, he's pulled a face.
No, PR is a horrible system. What we've got at the moment, and I think a lot of people forget about, we've got this system, first past the post, it's very unproportional. But the key point is, not only does it help you get governments elected, it's the best system for getting rid of governments. With PR, the people have their say, and then you get all this wheeler-dealing coalition building behind the scenes by politicians after an election. First past the post, you get to go from what we predict is, an 80-seat Tory majority to a Labour government in 5 years. And I think that's the great thing about our system.
All right, well, both of you stay exactly where you are, because you're going to want to comment the living heck out of what I've got for you now. There was a job opening earlier before Hunt's appointment, and one man with experience is saying that he can do a better job. So a new Chancellor we had to have at some point a new Chancellor, I suppose. It's Nick the Flying Brick, treasurer of the Monster Raving Loony Party. And Nick, as I understand it, you want to launch your budget, not so mini, may I add, right here on Friday Night Feast on GB News.
Yeah, hi, Patrick. It's a great pleasure to be here on your programme. I think it's fantastic, and it's a great honour. It's a great honour, Patrick. We want to issue £10 trillion worth of quantitative easing. And if that doesn't work, we want to issue a loon coin in a way of easing the national debt. And if that doesn't work, we're going to take all of our gold reserves and we're going to put it on the 20-1 Cheltenham Gold Cup in the hope that might sort our economy out.
OK, so those are some of your key economic pledges, aren't they? I mean, we've got an energy crisis, for example. Have you got any ideas how you're going to solve that area of the cost of living crisis?
Well, we're just going to get rid of standing charges and let everybody sit down and shiver. That's about it, really. I think that's all we've got at the moment, but we are working on it.
You are working on it. There's no quick fix when it comes to the economy, is there? And, I mean, it must devastate you, the idea that you're someone sitting there with, let's be honest, all the answers, and yet we're about to head into a recession.
I'd like to think I've got all the answers, but sometimes I wonder, and I do wonder if everybody who thinks they've got the answers have got the answers. I mean, who knows who has the answers? We need an answer to find somebody who knows the people with the answers.
Yeah.
Something like that.
No, something like that will do. Just quickly, you, as the Monster Raving Loony Party, you have had some policies that I believe have pretty much got into power, haven't they, actually? Do you want to run us through a couple of those?
Over the years, I think we have, yes.
What are they?
We wanted to open pubs 24 hours. Could you help me, actually, Patrick?
Well, you know what? I think that's absolutely fantastic. But you also wanted the 99p coin, which I think we can all agree now today would be a great thing.
Are You Serious formed that policy many years ago, and it's been very, very popular.
It's been very popular, and for a while as well, I believe that you wanted Cristiano Ronaldo to play football in slippers to ease the playing field, which I think is another terrific policy. Nick, the flying brick...
Patrick. I reckon you'd be an ideal candidate.
I actually really would like to join your political party. Yes, I would. I think we could take it into the mainstream.
We lifetime membership, shall we?
Yes. How much is a membership to the Monster Raving Loony Party, Nick the Flying Brick?
I believe it's £12.99.
God.
In line with our 99p coin.
Yeah, well, of course. No, of course. 100%. Nick the Flying Brick, just very lastly, can I ask how you actually became treasurer for the Monster Raving Loony Party?
Nobody else wanted the job, Patrick.
Yeah, good. Fantastic. Nick, you're a legend. Nick the Flying Brick there, treasurer for the Monster Raving Loony Party. Right, as per usual, joining me now are my two esteemed panellists. We have, in case you missed him earlier, hotshot journalist for Guido Fawkes, Christian Cowgate, and actor and comedian Lewis Schaffer. I will start with you now, Christian. Work our way back down the line. I mean, the Monster Raving Loony Party are looking like a good bet at the minute, aren't they?
Well, they are, and I thought the circumstances by which Nick the Flying Brick became treasurer, as far as no one else wanted the job, bear striking resemblance to what happened today in number 11 Downing Street as well.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Schaffer, is it?
Changing my name to Schaffer.
Are you now? Because I've said it Schaffer twice, and it is Schaffer.
I wasn't going to say anything.
No, but
it doesn't matter.
I've been getting it in my ear a lot, and that only made me want to mispronounce your name even more. So
but
sorry about
the
that.
first person to mispronounce my name was my mother. So it's just a mispronunciation. What is your question?
OK, good.
Do your job.
Yeah, what do you think about Jeremy Hunt?
I don't... You know what? That the fact that they have got to bring some old guy back in because the new guy they, fired says a lot. Says they're going back in time. And if they want... the next step is to bring Boris Johnson back if they're going to do that.
Well, I thought we should get to know a bit more about Jeremy Hunt. OK, so joining me now to discuss the new Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, is Tory MP David Morris. David, how are you? Tory MP for Morecambe and Lucerne. It's been a little while since I've seen you, actually, David. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm in very, very good spirits. What about you, Patrick? You okay?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Now, when I used to work as a local reporter at the Westmoreland Gazette, up in Cumbria, a fine local newspaper, you once had Jeremy Hunt coming down for one of the Tories' election campaigns. I think he was health minister at the time, and we had a chat with him. And I must say, I sat down in a room with him, and he was quite a nice guy, actually. What do you think about Jeremy Hunt being our new Chancellor?
Well, it's great, but do you know what? I'm really upset because he was going to be coming on Thursday, and now he won't be coming to Morecambe because...
But do you think he's got the minerals for it?
I mean, it's easy for me to come on and talk about Jeremy because I'm his biggest cheerleader in Parliament. I was his campaign team when he was up against Boris, and I was also in the last campaign team, which didn't last very long, to be truthful. But... Jeremy's a safe pair of hands. He's a grown-up. He's a decent guy. And at the end of the day, he's plugged into what's going on the street and he knows what's happening. So he's been out of government now for quite some time. And I think he's going to come in and he will sort out this fiscal mess. At the end of the day, I think we're going to have a new mini-budget. I'm not sure if it's going to be on Halloween. I think the optics of that need to be sorted out. Like, don't have it on the 31st of October. But... the bottom line and the serious line is that, yes, things haven't been great the past few weeks. To try and gloss over that, I would just look like a politician trying to gloss over something that we all know isn't brilliant. Yeah. But I think bringing Jeremy back is a very, very good move.
I have the only concerns that I would have about Jeremy is he was a Remainer, for example. Took quite a hardline stance during the COVID pandemic, rumblings anyway, of things like mandatory vaccinations or, more enforced quarantines and things. Do you think that really resonates with the British people now?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, the British people are looking beyond Brexit. We're all Brexiteers now, every one of us. And, same with the COVID vaccine. At the time, look, let's say it like it is, COVID was a killer. Nobody had a vaccine. The whole thing was upside down. Good old Boris sorted it out. We got a vaccine. And, there wasn't enough PPE in the world to even cover one country, never mind, the whole globe. So times were different then, and now we're looking towards the future. But the reality is we are living in a very, very dangerous time, dangerous world. We've got the Ukraine crisis, Ukraine war. Russia are saber-rattling. We've got problems all in that Eastern Europe region.
Yeah.
And then, economies all around the world are starting to feel the pinch because of that. It's a global sort of pandemic of economy. So, what's happened here isn't brilliant, but, there are deeper problems than just what's going on in the UK.
There are, absolutely. Just a quick one, though. How long do you reckon it'll be before we have to have a general election?
Well, I think it will be in 2024. I've had to think what year we were in then, 2022. Time just flies on, but, it does. I mean, since we last met, I think I had more hair and, You're
looking well, David. Don't do yourself down.
So things do move on in the positive.
You've stayed thin, I haven't. There we go. David Morris, thank you very much. David Morris there. Tory MP for Morecambe and Loosedale. Cheers. Great to have you back on the show. Right, Friday Night Feast will be nothing without you lot watching out there. So please, please, please get in touch. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.uk. You can message me as well on Twitter @GBNews. We'll get some of those messages later in the show, but now, coming up after the break, we will launch our weekly debate. Now, this week, we're asking, should refugees actually be sent to Rwanda? I took to the streets of London to find out if the public would actually like to visit the country themselves.
It's an interesting country I've never been to.
But you'd quite like to go?
Yeah.
I don't want to go.
You don't want to go? Rwanda? Gorillas? Any other reason?
It's better than working.
Better than working? Yes, yourself? Any reason why you would like to go to Rwanda?
I'd like to go with him.
You want to go with him?
Yeah.
OK, fantastic. Any other reasons at all for Rwanda?
It's warm.
It's warm? Can I ask a very quick question? Would you like to go to Rwanda?
Yes, I'd love to.
Why?
It's a beautiful country.
OK. What do you know about it?
I know it's got the most females in government.
Right.
It's got great scenery, great outdoors.
So you would be happy to go? Quick question. Would you like to go to Rwanda?
No.
Why not?
Well, why would I want to go to Rwanda? That's a very good question, isn't it? Is that the right place to be sending people who are trying to look for safe asylum in this country? I think that's probably where this.
So you personally wouldn't want to go?
I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't mind visiting Rwanda if I went deliberately as a tourist. Would I want to be sent there as without any choice or without any sort of hope of something a little bit more local in terms of sanctuary? No.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Welcome back to Friday Night Feast. Now, back in April, the UK and Rwanda signed an agreement for the UK to deport people seeking asylum in Britain to Rwanda. On the 14th of June, the first people seeking asylum in the UK were due to be deported to that country, but after a last-minute ruling from the European Court of Human Rights, the Home Office called off the flight. After a week of hearings, charities and asylum seekers who bought illegal bids against the government plans now face a wait for a decision, which, if I'm being completely honest with you, I was really hoping we'd have had by now. Anyway, so should refugees be sent to Rwanda? Joining me now is human rights lawyer Peter Tatchel. Peter, how are you?
Well, first of all, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a human rights defender, but I am fine and very pleased to be on your show.
I did think, actually, is that a promotion then?
No.
OK. Have you ever been to Rwanda?
I haven't.
Would you like to go? It's not an offer.
Not particularly, no.
Why not?
Rwanda has been widely condemned by respectable, responsible human rights groups like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch. It's been called out for things like enforced disappearances, unfair trials, attacks and suppression on freedom of expression. And generally, if you don't agree with the government, you are at risk. You're at risk of being framed on false charges and, even worse, ending up in a torture detention centre.
Do you think Rwanda is worse than Albania?
A place to send asylum seekers and refugees.
All right. What's worse then, Rwanda or Albania?
Well, definitely I'd say probably Rwanda.
So why can't we send people back to Albania?
Progress, more so than Rwanda. The other point I'd like to add, Patrick, is that we know that one of the detention centres, which is now being converted into, or has been converted into, a hostel for people in difficulty, it has been housing refugees from the Rwandan genocide up until earlier this year, when the Rwandan government forced out those refugees from the genocide to make way for asylum seekers deported from Britain. That's a shocking treatment of Rwandan citizens
just quickly then, so
grave persecution.
Yeah, so, well, I think we can all agree, and as is pretty obvious, we were, as indeed the entirety of the British media was, expecting a verdict on this court today, which is why we'd really booked this feature in. However, we've not properly had that. So let's assume now that, I don't know, Monday we get this, and the High Court does rule, Peter, that we can send people off to Rwanda. Will you have to accept that? Because that's our court, isn't it? That's the rule of law.
Well, just because a court says something doesn't make it right.
Well, where does that end, Peter?
The court sent the top part of the marshals to Australia. Most people recognise that was a very unjust decision.
Peter, you must have been involved in a few court cases in your time, and no doubt you've won a few, right? You were all right with the courts then, weren't you? So, hang on a minute. The reality is you just don't want anyone to go to Rwanda. That's what it is, regardless of what the law says, Peter.
Well, I will wait and hear what the judgment is and the reasons for it. But on the basis of the known evidence of human rights abuses in Rwanda, I think that would be very, very unsafe, very unwise, very unfair to send people who have fled persecution in many cases to a country where political persecution is the norm.
OK, little bit of wider context then from Peter, which is that if things carry on the way they are doing right now and people keep coming across the channel or from elsewhere and keep being put in various different hotels and at whatever cost that is, it was £5 million a day, but that was at least probably about 6 months ago, so goodness only knows what it is now. Then they're eating up local housing stock as well, with the Home Office coming in and, I suppose you can argue, undercutting the private rental market. How do we actually sort this? If you don't want anyone to go, who pays for people to stay in this country? Because, Peter, what I would say is if you went into any pub in the country and asked people there, do you want to pay more tax so that some of these people can spend longer in this country, I don't think many people would say yes.
Well, if the refugees are genuine, and most of them are, they've suffered extreme persecution in their home countries, of course we should provide them with a safe haven, just as much as we would want people to give us a safe haven if we were fleeing a country where we were being tortured, jailed, raped and subjected to other terrible crimes. But having said that, the number one priority to cut the public spending is to allow refugees to work while their claims are processed. At the moment, we have an absurd system where they're not allowed to work. We house them at public expense in often quite squalid, but nevertheless home office funded hostels. And we pay them about £40 a week to live on, which is impossible.
Peter, could I just ask?
Transport, etc. What we should do is let them work, because many of these refugees have skills that we need, and then they'd be paying tax and national insurance. So they'd be contributing to the public finances.
I'm not necessarily against that idea, actually, by the way, about letting people work. I think it's better that than just having them languishing in a Holiday Inn in Maidenhead, for example, which is, and often as well in Holiday Inns or various different other hotels where there's naffle to do around. So they hang around all day and then you end up with a lot of local residents, rightly so, in my opinion, by the way. You know, I'd be a bit miffed if my house is on the market and then all of a sudden an asylum seeker hotel pops up next door. I reckon you can shave a couple of £100,000 off that. But I want to know from you, Peter, really, where you think this really ends. Because as far as I can see, unless someone gets tough with our borders, we just have to accept as a country that things are going to change indefinitely. Things are going to change irreversibly, especially when it comes to the demographics of this country.
Well, I think the number one priority is, of course, to ensure that we work with other international countries and agencies to deal with the problems that cause refugees to flee. So, for example, there are many, many Syrians now in Britain. And that is because we turned and looked the other way when the dictator president, Bashar...
but just on that, sorry, just on that, I know I'm aware I'm interrupting, but we're pressed for time. Peter, if you were an asylum seeker, you'd be able to prove it pretty quickly, wouldn't you? Why does it take so long for some people? Isn't a lot of that to do with the fact they ditch their documents in the Channel?
No, there are lots of different reasons. But on my foundation, my Peter Tatchel Foundation, we help many refugees and asylum seekers. And I can assure you that 99.9% of them are genuine. We have been able to establish clear evidence that they've suffered persecution in their home countries. And yes, the system takes too long because it's not properly staffed. The government should add more staff to the Home Office to expedite these cases so that those who are not genuine can be more swiftly.
All right, Peter, we'll end it there. Peter, I've got to end it there, Peter. I'm getting shouted at. Peter Tatchel, thank you very much. Peter Tatchel, a human rights defender, crucially, not lawyer. Great to have you on the show. Panel time, Christian, OK. What do you make of this? We were really hoping for some kind of verdict. That's not happened. If this verdict goes against the government, I mean, it's double bad for the government, isn't it?
Well, the verdict isn't going to be the end of it because, you know, you see every time with these, it's all very well establishing the principle that you can deport, you know, certain people, or you can deport X to Rwanda, but then, of course, each of these individual cases has their own lawyers, and then you get this absurd thing, as with the last flight, where each of one of them is taken off last minute because they've lodged, complaints with the courts, and then the plane's left completely empty. So, unfortunately, these rows are going to go on forever.
Mr. Schaefer, would you like to go to Rwanda?
I would like to go to Rwanda. I don't know if I'd want to live there, but I think if we gave people a choice, whether they were going to be sent back to Albania or live in Rwanda, I think most people, you are right, would choose to live in Albania. And it's ironic that Peter Tatchel, who is a hero in my eyes, and he is a great guy, is totally wrong about this. Australians, the British people who were sent to Australia, were given a worse choice, which is they would either be tried in Britain and on charges that could give them the death penalty, or they could be transported to Australia. That was the choice they were given. That's what his ancestors were given. And this is a whole lot better than that.
Fair enough. Good stuff. OK, all right. Thank you very much, my esteemed panel there. After the break, it will be time for something I know you all really tune in for. It's Challenge Christie's, and here's a little question to get you thinking in the meantime. So the average person has how many strands of hair? A, 10 to 50,000. B, 100 to 150,000. Or C, 250 to 300,000. Think about that. I'll see you in 2.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
On Mark Dolan tonight, it's a government in crisis special. Will Liz Truss stick with her economic vision? How can she rebuild trust in her cabinet and her party? Does the Prime Minister need to consider her own position? Should she resign in the national interest? All of this plays into the hands of Keir Starmer, but can Britain afford a Labour government? We'll hear from voices across the political spectrum and some of the biggest names in the Tory party. That's a Government in Crisis special with me, Mark Dolan. You won't want to miss a second. See you at 9.
Why does somebody else get a promotional video on my show? I don't get a promo on anybody else's show. I think this is absolutely ludicrous. I'm going to go on strike. But anyway, welcome back to Friday Night Feast. Before the break, I asked you, the average person has how many strands of hair on their head? 10 to 50,000, 100 to 150,000, or 250 to 300,000? And the answer is B, 100 to 150,000. Who knew, people? Who knew? Well, it's time now for the best part of the show. It's Challenge Christys, OK? This is where members of the public send me some of the craziest tasks in the British Isles. And I've landed a plane. I've been kidnapped by the SAS. I even saved a penalty from the one and only Matt Letizia. And as well as being a bit of fun, though, at my expense most of the time, it's all for a very worthwhile cause. So please do get in touch with the craziest challenges you can think of. I will literally do anything. Anyway, this week, well, it was a close shave. Hello everybody, welcome to the latest instalment of Challenge Christys with me, Patrick Christys, and today I am in the lovely Kensington. It's yummy mummy territory, cockapoo territory, matcha latte territory, whatever that means. And today's Challenge Christys, it's hairdressing. Let's crack on. Hello, how are you? You must be Jamie.
Nice to meet you, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you very much. Goodness me, look at this guy. Right, okay.
Thank you.
So, are you sure you think you're going to be able to teach me how to cut hair?
Patrick, I've been hairdressing for 25 years and this is probably my toughest challenge to do it in a short space of time. But I'm going to try my best. I'm going to teach you a one-length haircut first on a woman. Okay. Because it's very difficult, but probably the simplest kind of thing to do rather than layers and all of that stuff. Okay. And then we're going to move into men's hairdressing.
Okay, so I'm going to get both genders, as it were.
As much as we can.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's crack on.
I've got a model for you.
Oh, good. They said when you go into TV, you'll have models queuing up left, right and centre. Loads of models.
And here she is.
Oh, who brought my ex? Right, OK, what's she called? We need to name her.
I like to call her Betty.
Betty, OK, Betty. All right, good stuff, good stuff.
Is I'm going to section the sides out, and we're just going to focus on the back. And the first technique is going to be called cutting over the finger.
OK.
So you always drop head down slightly.
Gosh, you can really
push her right down this one. So the important thing is not to take too much hair in the finger, and then we're going to take about 2 inches off.
And you use your finger as the
guide, basically. Follow it straight down. See your guide?
Yeah.
And
lovely.
cut. The next one is what we call comb control and comb cutting, which I think might be easier for you.
Oh, good.
Your eyes always follow your comb. Okay, so you pull it all the way down to your guide.
That does look easier, and also as well, Colin, our health and safety man, will be pleased to know that my fingers won't get cut if I do the comb thing.
Exactly.
This is harder than anything that I've done. I've landed an aeroplane. So like that.
That's it.
Down to that line.
That's it.
And
open it.
Open it up.
And then pull it up.
And pull it up.
The hair on top.
Up top.
Yeah. And then down.
Down.
So it's not easy. We haven't even gotten to cutting yet.
No, we've not. I've just pulled her hair out. That's all right, is it?
That's not bad, but now we need to bring this bit down.
It's getting there. That is.
Yeah, so I'm just going to, come on.
Sorry.
There.
Just pull it up and twist it. Oh, okay, is that interesting? So, and then what? Just leave it like that?
That's it.
Now, I'm right-handed, so should I cut right-handed?
Absolutely. Root to
Does it matter either which bit of the comb?
It does.
So what do I do with the scissors then? Because I'm combing it. and I get my guideline.
So
where do you put your scissors?
We have to then, so it's double. So I would always keep my scissor.
So I did wonder about that.
Just be careful you don't stab her and cut hair off of there.
Stab her in the back of the head.
That's
right.
it. There you go.
That'll do. Right, now.
That's it. Cut.
Yeah. Oh gosh, they are sharp. Huh?
One more. Stop. That's it.
Oh. Okay. Well, like that. Okay, yeah. This is great.
Look, that's better. That looks more natural.
Like
When we don't generally
use
the
hack
word
away.
hack.
Take
cut
some off.
away,
Cut the hair. And then
that is it.
Cut here. You happy with that?
Much better.
Wait, no, that. We're off to a flyer. Do you want to stab you, Betty? All right, Betty. Okay. Well, she'll be happy with that, I think. How much do you normally charge?
Me?
Yeah.
£270 for a cut and blow dry.
Ooh, okay.
But obviously I don't cut hair like that.
No, that's the overarching point, really, isn't it? Yeah.
So let me have the comb.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to have a little judge.
Okay.
Okay.
Spot on, isn't it? Absolutely spot on.
Slightly longer here. You can see that from the guide.
Some would say that. Yeah.
For someone who's literally just picked up a pair of scissors, it's not good, but it's not horrendous.
That's actually the reviews for this show. Okay, great. So that's women done.
Women, I think that's
done.
enough.
Gosh, it's not even midday. Already one model down. Right. What's next then?
Men's. I've got a really good model for this.
Okay, good.
And
where is he?
It's you.
What?
It's you.
That's fantastic. At this point, I think it's right that we bring in my esteemed producer, Amanda.
Absolutely.
Right, so Amanda is joining us here now. Thank you very much. I mean, possessor of great hair. Later on, we are going to be having a competition, Amanda, you and I, as to who can cut the best man's hair.
And then the challenge is, we've got a beautiful model.
Yeah, stunning.
He's stunning, beautiful.
Oh, wait to see this guy.
And I'm effectively going to split his hair in two. You're going to cut one side, you're going to cut the other, and then I'm going to judge.
I hope I clean behind my ears.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on half. You can see everything up to what we call the parietal ridge is a grade 4. Okay, now clippers off, and then we're going to move to a grade 3. Just naturally creating like a nice build-up of weight. You've got ridiculously thick hair, Patrick.
Thank you.
Very jealous.
I am very thick. It feels really nice as well.
I now need to go over and just sort of soften with scissors, but I think for you guys, this is probably enough.
That's the one. Brilliant. This is very different from the other model. Right, so this is the model. Do you have a name?
Yeah, Joe.
Doesn't have a name. Right, okay, so what are we going to do to his hair then?
Right, so Joe's obviously got really lovely long hair, but he's agreed it's going to let us cut it all off, basically like yours.
Okay, great. And then you're going to judge who's done the best half.
Absolutely.
So Amanda and I, who's got the best half?
Fine. Right. Joe, how are you feeling? Bit nervous. Just remember, I'm here. Straight in there.
In and out.
Very good. Just remember when I said don't shave up too high.
Are you going anywhere nice? No.
Amanda, you're doing so good as well.
I'm really looking forward to getting in around his ears. Ooh. Ah, there is a bit of a bald patch there now. So he's going for the patchy look. Oh, look at that. You're powerful. Who's got the better side so far? Shall we have a look?
Let's look at Patrick's side.
Right.
It's quite obvious who's winning so far.
Right. Everything's fine.
Oh, dear.
You look $1 million. I think we can all agree this is my most successful challenge yet. So this is where we have the finishing touch, just to really smarten it up.
No putting her off.
Just really tidying it up, yeah? He's looking great, though.
So they are very tight as well, so if you go in at the wrong angle with them, you can cut the skin. Just letting you know.
That's
okay?
right, crack on. Tell you, dummy. You're recently developed quite bad shakes.
I knew something like that was going to happen. I could just see it. I could see it.
And then if we fill it in, it's really hard to get that little bit just behind the ear, isn't it?
I'm not quite sure what to say.
Just really zoning on what Amanda's done wrong here. So
there's not much. Honestly, the blend of your grade 4 to 3 to 2, really good. But now let's come over to your side, Patrick.
Well, I had a consultation with Joe earlier, and Joe said that he was auditioning for a role as a Mohican, and he said to me, the last time he had his hair cut, I won't name names, they didn't do enough of just around the ear. So I thought I'd make sure I got that bit for him. You think I did it?
No. Amanda's, Patrick's.
What do you want to do? Do you want to shave it all off because Amanda ruined it? Yeah. What we could do, I've got an idea as how we could salvage this, right? Just morally, is we could, I don't know, keep your hair, raffle it off on Friday Night Feast for charity.
Yes.
That's some serial killer behaviour. We're doing it. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to raffle off Joe's hair. Well done, Joe. So we need to make sure we keep all of this.
It suits you though, handsome.
It actually really suits you, mate. Right, well, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Challenge Christie's. I am now a hairdresser.
Debatable.
I would like to apologise to Joe, our producer, who has signed a very, very comprehensive NDA following that ordeal. Joe, firstly, everything all right at home?
I've lost everything. My life's a living hell. I can't pay my mortgage. My wife's left me. They've repossessed my house. I've lost everything. I've been forced to sell everything.
Just because of the haircut?
Because of the haircut. My life's a ruin. You've ruined me.
Well, what I thought I'd do just to make it up to you is that I have your hair in a bag, right? And I thought that what we could do, maybe, is sell it off as an IKEA bag, sell it off to charity. And then, well, not to charity, you are the charity. So if I hold this up again just now, everyone looking at it, yeah, it looks like an ISIS beheading video, doesn't it? But if I sell this now to the highest bidder and we give it to Joe so that Joe can pay his mortgage. OK, so if you get in touch now, GBViews and GBnews.uk, it's the genuine article. It really is. This is really Joe Scotting's hair. You too could be in possession of Joe Scott's hair. So if you give us enough money, then he can pay his mortgage, OK? He can pay his mortgage. There we go. All right, everyone, GBViews at GBnews.uk, the highest bidder will now own Joe's hair. I'm going to bring my panel in. Christian, do you want Joe's hair?
there is no other television presenter in the country who has held up a bag of their colleagues' hair on live television and auctioned it to perverts. This is why I love GB News, you know.
It doesn't have to be for perverts.
The BBC doesn't do this, does it? This is television.
You don't get this on the BBC. Right, OK, what do you make of all of that?
I think anybody who would buy that would inherently be a pervert. You don't need to say auction it to perverts.
You've got a great head of hair, to be fair.
You know what? My hair used to be even more amazing, and to me, it's deficient.
But all round, I learnt how to cut hair then, and actually it's much easier just to shave it all off. But as far as Challenge Christie's go, I think success, Christian.
Very, and I've seen lots of the other ones, and the bar is on the floor, but yes, relatively, it was all right.
Yes, I mean, I've landed a plane, I've done ice skating, I've done kickboxing, but I think my biggest calling so far is hair.
Well, you made the right choice, because he's got a fantastically shaped head.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I'd hate to see what's under this guy's, Christian's head.
No. OK, well, look...
If the face is any indicator.
No, absolutely. Well, Joe Scotting here, one of our producers, volunteered to do that, and ever since we shaved his head, everything's gone wrong for him. He's lost his wife and kids and his house. And we said, well, the way to make it up to him is to offer this out to the nation, OK? So if you are watching now and you want to give some money for Joe Scotting's hair, I'll sign the bag, if you want. I'll sign the bag. Then you can get in touch. It's gbviews@gbnews.u... Hang on a minute. Hang on. I believe have we had an offer from someone? Is that right? Can we see who's offered? Who's offered for the hat? Oh, my God. Oh, OK. That looks a lot like Andrew Neil. OK, well, there we go. We're going to be giving the hair to Andrew, and he's bid... It's £1 million. It's £1 million, and he's going to come and collect it. He's going to take a private jet. Well, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Yes, if you're listening on GB News Radio, you can watch that challenge right now on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and also on Twitter. Challenge Christie's really is one of the best things I get to do, and it's all thanks to you. So please, please, please keep your ideas coming. I'm doing more brilliant challenges soon, but I want more. That's right. You know the drill. Patrick at gbnews.uk. Tell me what you want to do. But now it's time for this very quickly. Postperson Pat, bit of your views to end the hour. Following today's news of the Chancellor being sacked, you've been getting in touch. James says yet another U-turn and sacrificing a man who was loyal, with Liz Truss taking no responsibility. Yeah, it was her plan, and with running away from the press shows a lack of conviction and courage. Well, there you go. We'll go to some more of your views a bit later on. But coming up in the next hour, a Miss England finalist, a man who eats 100 eggs a day and will also attempt to rehome yet another rescue dog. I will see you in 2 people.
Good evening, Alex Deakin here with your weekend weather update from the Met Office. The mixed picture continues, sunshine and showers and a breezy day on Saturday. Sunday looking dry and bright for the most part before more wet and windy weather arrives from the southwest. A whole host of low pressure systems and weather fronts drifting in from the Atlantic at the moment. They'll all bring bands of showers across the country over the next 24 to 36 hours. A couple of those bands sinking south this evening, but many places dry this evening, the main exception being across the Midlands and parts of Wales. And then later in the night, we'll see another band of quite heavy rain move across western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Ahead of that, could easily see some frost across eastern Scotland, but another pretty mild night with a lot of cloud across the south. A real mishmash again then on Saturday. Could be quite a wet start for Wales and northern England, but that rain should soon scoot away, lingering a little longer in northeast Scotland. Sunny spells will follow, but so will a whole host of showers. A zone of them crossing the Midlands late in the day, more for West Wales and southwest Scotland, along with Northern Ireland. Quite a cool feeling day here. Blustery conditions on western coast, making it feel rather fresh. 16 or 17 the high in the southeast and East Anglia, where there will be plenty of showers through Saturday evening, and the showers continue throughout the night over northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. But it does turn a little drier across the south as we head into Sunday, and the showers over northern England, Northern Ireland should fade through the morning, and even across Scotland actually the showers tending to ease off as we go through Sunday. So many places actually dry and bright for most of Sunday, with some good spells of sunshine, and the wind's a little lighter as well. Temperatures 16, 17 in the south, 13 or 14 further north. The wind's starting to pick up in the southwest, however, and behind me here is a developing area of low pressure that is moving in from the southwest and will bring some rain to Northern Ireland on Sunday evening. Wet and windy weather spreading everywhere during Sunday night.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Welcome back, everybody, to an especially mental version of Friday Night Feast. Coming up, with the Miss England final getting underway in Birmingham on Monday, we will meet a contestant, I'm just going to say it now, future winner. We'll also be having a rummage around your parts. We're going to find the best local news stories in your area, which is arguably something that we should have broken up in the running order there. Former SAS soldier and author Phil Campion is back with Campion's Champions, and of course we will have the world-famous Dog of the Week. But first, it's the news with the wonderful Raymundo.
Thanks, Patrick. Here's the latest from the GB newsroom. The Prime Minister says she isn't resigning after announcing yet another mini-budget U-turn. This time, Liz Truss is reversing the government's policy to scrap a planned rise in corporation tax. Her press conference came shortly after sacking Kwasi Kwarteng as Chancellor and replacing him with former Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt. Ms Truss says she's still committed to her plans for growth.
I have acted decisively today because my priority is ensuring our country's economic stability. As Prime Minister, I will always act in the national interest. This is always my first consideration. I want to be honest. This is difficult, but we will get through this storm, and we will deliver the strong and sustained growth that can transform the prosperity of our country for generations to come.
Responding to that press conference, Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves says the trickle-down economics of the Tory party no longer works.
The partial U-turn today does not reverse the whole budget, which is what is needed. The government needs to go back to the drawing board, not just picking out individual measures. Another change in who is running the Treasury, another Tory Chancellor, isn't the answer to the challenges that we face as a country.
The National Gallery in London says the Vincent van Gogh painting targeted by climate activists is now back on display. 2 Just Stop Oil campaigners threw cans of tomato soup over the sunflower's portrait in protest against fossil fuels. They then glued themselves to the wall. They've since been arrested for criminal damage and aggravated trespass. The Met says the painting was unharmed as it's behind glass. In international news, 49 miners have been trapped underground after an explosion at a coal mine in northern Turkey. According to reports, the workers are stuck more than 300 metres below ground. The country's disaster management authority says the explosion was caused by a faulty transformer. Local TV footage shows people being carried to ambulances with emergency personnel crowding the area. We'll bring you the latest on this story as we get it. And the actor Robbie Coltrane has died. Scottish-born Coltrane won 3 BAFTAs for his portrayal of Fitz in the 90s TV drama Cracker. He'll probably be best remembered, though, for his role as Hagrid in the Harry Potter films. The actor Stephen Fry said he'll be dreadfully missed. He was 72 years old. We're on TV, online and on DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Back now to Patrick and that Friday night feast.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, if you are in Birmingham, then you are in for an absolute treat on Monday, for beauty queens everywhere will be flocking to the host city in hope of being crowned for this year's Miss England. A Holiday Inn is, believe it or not, the setting for the stage for the final round of the contest, following numerous gruelling challenges, including a sports competition, a talent show, hairstyling, beach beauty, and a no-makeup catwalk. It sounds a little bit like a Challenge Christie's episode all rolled into one, but amongst the lineup will be a mechanic, a paramedic, 3 nurses, a doctor, a lorry driver, and a chess champion, and a rocket scientist, and an Afghan refugee. That's right. And the latter, a former refugee who fled Afghanistan with her family when she was aged just 3, lives in London now, aged 26, is leading a series who works in PR and has a permanent citizenship in the UK. I'm delighted to say that you join me now. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right.
Thanks for having me.
So, look, aside from the obvious, how did you get into Miss England?
Honestly, it was last year I won Beauty and Brains 2021, and I enrolled through as well, and then they recognised, the accomplishment, and then that's how I received the email. I was star-studded. I was like, what?
But it's an astounding story, yours, isn't it, really? So would you mind just taking our viewers and our listeners through, I suppose, what brought you to Miss England?
Well, as a former refugee and coming from Afghanistan and then, coming to Europe and really not having seen anything of my childhood and not really been through what normal children usually go through, I've always had this passion for beauty and fashion, and I was in search of trying to find and understand what the purpose is behind it. And I always knew inside me that there is this higher purpose that I wanted to achieve, which links back to Beauty with a Purpose, which is a charity that I also, support within this round.
So you had to do quite a lot just to get, to Birmingham on Monday, right? So I've read off a few rounds there. I mean, it's quite astonishing, really, because they obviously want an incredibly well-rounded person. So talk me through some of the challenges that you've had to do then, I suppose, to get there, or some of the tasks or whatever that you've had to do to get to the finals.
No, of course. I believe, today Miss England is challenging the traditional way of how Miss England is perceived. So we are no longer thinking conservatively, although we have the choice of being and representing the way we want to represent ourselves. So the challenges I face coming from an Afghan culture, Islamic background, there are a few aspects of beauty that is looked down upon or questioned. So I had to challenge it in the most moral way that I possibly could do, and that's who I stand for. So, for example, not wearing, the beachwear, that was also a very challenging part, but doing it in a way that comes across conservatively, but more so that's me. Can
I ask how that's been with regards to your, I suppose, traditional culture, as it were? I suppose those two things are not things that normally would go hand in hand, would they? I mean, how's that been for you?
It has been challenging because usually it's not regarded as an accomplishment or as an achievement, I would say.
Right, right.
But being part of a beauty contest and fully embracing who you are, and in ways that is morally correct for myself. So I do have my moral standards. I do have ways of, okay, I will not show this part or that part. That's for me to, decide. And that's exactly how I have presented myself.
Now, if you're being honest,
Yeah.
are you there to win?
Of course.
Yes? I mean, what do you have to do for the final, right? So you've got to do, because, you might as well be honest about it. I like that. A lot of people say, oh, no, it's just a taking part. But you're pretty upfront about the fact that you just want to win.
I do respect all the women that are contributing and participating.
But you want to win.
I've come a long way, and this is just the beginning.
Oh, OK, all right, that's interesting. Watch out, everybody else, I'm telling you what. So do you know what you have to do in Birmingham yet, then, for the final? Anything specific, or do they surprise you?
No, so we have our charity event on Sunday, and then on Monday we have our final round, so that's very exciting to be part in.
Fantastic. Now, what would it mean for you if you won Miss England?
Like I said, it's just literally the beginning of so much more. I am not representing only myself or my story. I'm representing all the other women that are restricted. And I'm not talking about the Manessa region, which is the Middle East, Asia and Africa. I'm talking about the European and even US. There are so many other women that cannot voice their opinion or cannot say what they truly feel. And I want to represent that in the most moral and ethical way.
Is there a Mr. England? I'm assuming there probably is.
I believe there is, yeah.
How do you think I'd do in that?
I think you'll do brilliant. I think you're an amazing character.
Character's interesting, right? OK, good stuff, good stuff. Do they have a personality competition? I suppose they will. I suppose your personality has to shine through. Well, look, thank you very, very much. And can I ask, how do people vote? Do the public get to vote, or is it just judges on the day?
No, absolutely. Public has a choice to vote on the app.
Oh, do it, right, promote it. I mean, so how can people vote for you?
They can just download the app and then they can just click on my name.
Click on your name, fantastic, OK. And I tell you what, just remind people, everyone at home, exactly, so they're downloading the app now as we speak, remind them of the name and how they can do it. Go on, what's your name?
Well, guys, you can download the app on your phone. It's very easy. It's called Miss England. And then you go on voting and then you can vote for me. Lead in a series. Yeah,
there you go. Fantastic. So, OK, well, good luck. I think we all wish you well, obviously.
Thank you so much.
Good luck to it. I mean, it does take an incredible amount of courage to do what you've done, so thank you so, so much. And great to have you on the show. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for
Good
having
luck
me.
to you. Good luck. OK, right, well, I mean, this is a little bit of a shift in tone, but nothing quite encapsulates Friday Night Feast like what we're about to do next, because next we do celebrate World Egg Day's most important day of the year. It's World Egg Day. To celebrate, we have an excellent surprise. Yeah, all right, I didn't write this. A fitness influencer who eats 100 eggs a day. Yes, he has 12 eggs in an omelette usually. Is this man fully cracked? Yes. The man ingests over 7,000 calories from these eggs alone. That's a shell of a lot if you ask me. Joining me now is that man, Fernando the King Saraca, live from Brazil. Fernando, excellent to have you on the show. So, you are the man who eats the most eggs in the world, is that right?
Yes, sir, I do. 100 eggs daily, every single day.
And you are pretty ripped. Can we have a look at how ripped you are?
I'm ripped.
Good grief. Wow, I mean, for anyone listening on radio, imagine someone really, really ripped. What is it about eggs that does it for you, Fernando?
Actually, what I find out over the years, eggs works very well for me. My body digests very, very fast. So it took me like 10 years to find out the right diet for me.
Are you addicted to eggs?
Yes, sir, I do. I really, really love eggs. My wife sometimes say, you never get sick about eggs? I say, no, I love eggs. I do. I really do. I really do. I love eggs.
I mean, it's a heck of a lot of eggs, but you must have to work out an incredible amount as well to get a physique like that.
Yes. Actually, as I said before, it took me 20 years to get this shape, to get that training, to get that diet, to get everything settled for me. So it's pretty hard to find out the right diet for you. It's gonna take a lot of years and the right training for you. So that's I'm doing right now. I just find out the best diet for me is eggs. I don't like to eat chicken. I don't like to eat meat. I feel so bloated. That's why I eat eggs every single day.
I mean, well done you, it works. I'm going to have to try it, OK, because I will try anything that I can, and if it makes me look like you, then, hey, I'd be mad not to. And whereabouts in Brazil are you?
Oh, Brazil is very good. I like Brazil. Brazil, the weather is good. I like it. It's the best place for vacation.
Good, yeah, but whereabouts are you? Where do you live?
Me?
Yes.
In São Paulo, right now. Right now I'm in São Paulo.
Fantastic. Never been, don't know why I bothered asking. Thank you very much, Fernando. Great to have you on the show. You are a legend. Hey, I'm going to give us some guns on the way out. Give us the guns. Yes, there he is. Look at that. All right, fantastic. We've had a Miss England. Now we've got Fernando. Don't say we don't cater to all tastes. Fernando, the King Taraka, who, let's be honest with you, loves eggs. Right, OK. Coming up, an elderly vegan gets fined. We're also going to hear from one man who is being tormented by a neighbour and a naturist defying the energy crisis. Remarkable stuff. It's almost time that we took a good old trip around your parts, everybody. Make sure you stay tuned for that. I'll be back in a tick.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Welcome back to Friday Night Feast. Now it's time for Round Your Parts, where we dig deep to find some of the absolute gems of local news. Let's start with a vegan, an elderly vegan no less, who has been fined, good, for refusing to treat a mouse infestation at her home because it went against her beliefs. Margaret Manzoni said that she considered the rodents her pets and said they would not go to her neighbours because she looked after them. But her neighbours claimed they were forced to move out because of the problem, which led to an overpowering smell. But enough about the vegan. Tendring District Council ended up taking Manzoni to court, where she was fined a whopping 1,500 quid. I'll bring my panel in now. Lewis, how would you get rid of unwanted guests?
Well, I serve them plates of meat, and even normal people are offended by it. I think this poor woman, she's lost her mind on the vegan diet, and what people don't discuss is that low cholesterol and a high carb diet leads to insanity. And so I feel sorry for this woman. You very rarely see older vegans because they don't last Wow. Am I allowed to say that?
It's happened now. That's
Yeah,
all right.
sorry about
Well, also as well, we don't have the stats on that, but it doesn't look. I mean, I think if I was a vegan, I wouldn't want to continue living anyway, so it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah.
Christian, have you got any tiny little pets? I recently have purchased a hamster.
No, I haven't. I've got nothing because my landlord is a mean old Scrooge and won't let us have any pets in the house.
Oh, my landlord hasn't let me. I've just done it.
Yeah. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Oh.
And there's a housing crisis in London. I can't afford to lose my flat.
You can't afford to lose your flat. OK, fair enough. Well, we go. We're going up to Halifax now. Someone has to. Halifax. A man has been tormented in his own home by a stranger yelling porridge through his letterbox. OK, so let's picture the scene. You're in Halifax, you've got a front door with a letterbox on it, and someone, a total stranger, keeps shouting the word porridge through it. The perpetrator has been targeting the house for the past 3 weeks in the early hours of the morning. Sometimes they even shout, porridge time, Papa Bear, or eat it before it goes cold, Papa. Although they have also been known to whisper, which I think is quite sinister. The homeowner has now taken to social media to plead with the porridge shouter to stop. I'm going to go to the panel again quickly on this one. Lewis, have you ever had any kind of terrible neighbours?
I had my neighbour who was was a lovely guy, but he would like wake up in the middle of the night. He had suffering from late stage dementia, and he would he'd be coming out in his underwear covered in. Wow. It was bad. But I acted like an incredible great neighbour, so
Well, I'm pleased to say that the man whose letterbox gets shouted through joins us now. Down the line, that's right. David, are you there?
Good evening,
David, are you there? David, are you on the phone for us? Can you hear us, David?
Patrick. Good evening.
Yes, there we go. We've got David. David, so just talk me through now. What happens? So someone shouts porridge through your letterbox?
That's it. So in the middle of the night, usually, you hear him, you hear the letterbox open, and you hear him just shouting.
Have you thought about putting a camera outside your front door, David?
I can't afford a camera, Patrick.
Right, and I believe we're showing a picture of your front door right now, so you can't afford a camera, that's fine. Have you thought about, I don't know, just staying up all night and sitting by the letterbox hoping to grab them?
I have stayed up, but to be honest, it's resulted in nightmares.
It's been giving you nightmares?
Absolutely.
To be honest with you, mate, it is scary. No, it is scary and it is terrifying. Do you live in a big block of flats or what is it? Because I just wonder whether or not it must be one of your neighbours, David.
I thought it might be an inside job, Patrick.
All right. Well, there we go. Well, David, I hope it all goes all right for you anyway, and that you do find out David Rice, who is shouting porridge through your letterbox. Just quickly, David, can you give us a plea now to whoever's shouting porridge through your letterbox to stop?
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. I'd like to say that you're a cunning fox, but I will get my man. It's obviously an inside job. It's obviously one of my neighbours. You've given me nightmares. It's been giving my budget mental health issues. It's just unbelievable. He's a menace to society, Patrick, for heaven's sake.
So it's not just you who suffered, the budgies developed mental health problems as well?
I say so. He hasn't been himself at all, Patrick. He has a little mirror in his cage and he hasn't touched it for weeks.
OK, and what, have you taken your budgie to the vet at all, David?
No, I couldn't do that to him. Not at all. Just keep him in his own.
OK, all right, OK. Well, to be fair, David, do you actually like porridge?
That's the question.
David, do you like porridge?
I'm more of a Weetabix man myself, Patrick.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest insult of it all, isn't it? David, look, thank you very much. David Rice there, joining us from Halifax, and that is an absolute travesty, isn't it? And I think we can all agree right here on national television, whoever is shouting porridge through David's letterbox, just stop it, because it's not funny. Christian?
It's a very serious topic, and I would advise that Quaker Oats gets a new advertising strategy, because it's clearly not working.
Lewis, I mean, it's affecting his budgie's mental health.
Isn't porridge? Wasn't that a TV show in this country?
Yeah, well, because doing a bit of porridge is prison.
That was ironically the perpetrator should be experiencing a bit of porridge.
Should be, yes.
So maybe he's saying to that guy, I'm not going to say who this guy, that you're a bad person.
You're a bad person.
I completely missed the point.
Porridge. Yeah.
If you had gone over this beforehand, I could have participated more.
I think if we'd gone over this beforehand, we'd have done a lot of things differently. A Torquay granny has been speaking out after she suffered the ordeal of eating a cupcake laced with cannabis. During a wedding, she was rushed to hospital after a family member couldn't find a pulse, and she was oblivious to what had happened until she woke up some 12 hours later in Torbay Hospital. Ooh. Gosh, I mean, the obvious question, I suppose, is have you ever eaten a cupcake laced with cannabis?
Well, there's an interesting story, and I'm not saying this happened. This could have been made up.
Could have been anyone.
But someone had given me and my girlfriend cannabis brownies.
Right.
And I came home, and my girlfriend was acting very perturbed because she had eaten all of the brownies.
Oh, no.
And was acting quite paranoid. And then it was quite funny, because when I found out about it, I was more upset that it was a high-carb food, and she shouldn't have been eating all those cakes. She didn't know what was in it, but she shouldn't have been eating those.
No, she should have known better. None of that would have happened if she'd have stuck to the flipping diet. That's
yes.
Right. Calgie.
No. I've
Do you want to ruin your career, love, on air?
Are my parents watching? I've never done any substances. But I don't get the appeal of weed, I'm afraid. It seems to be associated with sort of losers and stoners.
Well, the thing is, you have to, I mean, it's a good job Peter Hitchens isn't here, because his head would have exploded. But, you only have to walk, especially around London. I mean, the whole place stinks of it all the time anyway, but we're moving on.
Enough about the GB News.
Enough. Wow. Have either of you ever found yourself experiencing anything unexpected at a wedding? No, we've already done that. A naturist from Rochdale, we're moving on. A naturist from Rochdale has given some bizarre advice for helping keep energy costs low, claiming his unusual lifestyle means he has hardly any laundry to do. So 43-year-old Stuart Gilmore says he's saved a fortune in clothes and energy bills, as well as feeling better in himself and his body image due to his unconventional habits. He even goes down his local pub completely naked, saying he loves being able to experience everyday life without the restrictions of clothing. And he claims the lack of clothing is, quote, a conversation starter. Lewis, where's the weirdest place you've ever been naked?
I was with a girl once, and that was quite unusual. I don't know. I think I don't know how that's related.
Have you ever been to a nudist beach?
Yes, I was in Brighton, and I looked over the fence, and and honestly, let's be honest, people who want to get naked,
you're right,
are usually completely unattractive.
No, you're right.
I don't like the girl who was on your show before. She's not getting naked because she's beautiful.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. Well put. I mean, I actually went to a nudist beach once in Spain, in Estepona, and we were young. We were like 19. We thought it'd be funny, and it was funny, but for all the wrong reasons. I mean, it was like, we walk for ages, and I think we, as 18 or 19-year-old lads, had it in our head that it would be this sea of goddesses, and it was just a load of fat men in Panama hats. That was it.
Terrifying glimpse into your own future.
Yeah, it looked like someone had inflated Freddie Mercury. It was. Have you ever been to a nudist beach?
Well, it's a hell of a segue to come to me in this point of the conversation, but nothing personal. No, I hate nudity. I think it's a sin against God, and I shower fully clothed.
Yeah, 100%, and that really does come across. OK, people, we're moving on now. We're moving on, because it's time now for Christie's courtroom. Order, yeah. The first man in the dock today is the viral moment caught on camera. So in Mexico City, by the way, a bit of context here, people. In Christie's courtroom, what I do is I pick 2 or 3 people or things, and we decide whether or not they're guilty of a particular offence. So off to Mexico City we go, because a dad sent his baby crowd surfing towards Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at an event for his new movie. And the baby girl ended up in the hand of The Rock. Is crowd surfing one to tick off the bucket list? I'm hoping we can see this video at some point. I mean, that's some something out of the Michael Jackson school of parenting, isn't it? Dangling it over a balcony. Well, we need to find out, is this good or bad parenting? Guilty of bad parenting?
I think it's good parenting. I just heard The Rock is going to wind up with $1 billion by like the next couple of years. The guy's like super loaded. He's super good looking, and
he's not the father, you know.
No, I know
well,
he's not the father.
Did he keep the baby?
I know he's not the father, but that girl was going to grow up, and maybe he's got a chance to be in The Rock's life.
Okay, you see, so The Rock would have looked into the baby's eyes, but at the same time...
Maybe not at this time, but maybe in the future it could develop.
Oh, I understand where you're going with this now.
Yeah.
In 18 years' time.
In 18 years' time, The Rock's going to be a bit older. He's a Hollywood guy. He doesn't care about the age of the thing.
Good grief.
The lawyers.
Good or bad parenting? Good or bad parenting, Christian?
I think, you know, it wouldn't be my style of parenting, but I'm a libertarian, and who am I to judge? Did they get the baby back?
Yeah. They got the baby back.
I suppose that's quite core to the conclusion here, right?
They got the baby back.
OK, well, it's fine.
It wasn't like, you know, giving it to Ozzy Osbourne in his prime, where he just bites the head off it. Right, OK, so we're going with verdicts good parenting. All right, moving on now to another case this week. Manchester City councillors announced that they are scrapping their firework events on the 5th of November, blaming, quote, escalating costs for the decision. This would have been their first public firework display since 2019 because of COVID. Public displays were also scrapped in Hackney, Cardiff and Dundee. I can't help but wonder if there's a theme to these councils whatsoever, but there we go. Now, what we want to decide is this just essentially guilty or not guilty of ruining a good time? Are these councils ruining a good time? Christian, come off it. The people need to have a good time. I mean, you are from Guido Fawkes.
I was going to say.
Right, and this is Guy Fawkes night.
Who better?
Yeah.
You know, I'd also like to double-check the science on the fact that apparently firework displays would have spread COVID had they gone ahead in...
That was mad, wasn't
2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
You know, but look, we do council stories all the time. So many councillors are insane, you know, wastes of money. You know, I don't want to prejudge, but I can imagine you could trim some fat from their spending. And, you know,
This is interesting. So one way that we could get around this, we're not just essentially accusing them of being guilty of being killjoys here. We're also suggesting politely that if they sacked themselves, they could have a firework display. And I think if you ask the good people of Manchester, they'd rather have no councillors but a firework display.
Well, as a person who's been fighting my own council, I'm not going to mention the name of the borough, Southwark, who's been fighting them for years.
Oh, don't get me started, Southwark.
You can see the one authentic, not one, but one of the diminishing authentic things in this country is Guy Fawkes Day fireworks. They don't have that in America. It didn't come from America.
No.
It isn't American. It wasn't like Halloween, whatever is basically an American holiday. So it just shows it's a lack of patriotism. So it's related to...
You mentioned Southwark Council there, and I'm glad that you did, because at the height of the pandemic, that first wave, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, was regarded as a key worker. Because I was doing a radio show, so I was obviously delivering the news to people, and people needed that to continue to live. Right. So I was a key worker, but because the tubes weren't running, I had to drive in. I wouldn't normally have driven into Southwark, and so I drove in, and I parked my car in a parking bay. The parking machine had a bag over it, and the number that you had to dial if you wanted to pay otherwise wasn't working. Nobody else was at work. The place is empty. I got fined £80 by Southwark Council for blocking the road for an ambulance. I was 1.5 miles away from a hospital, right? 1.5 miles away. So, Lewis, just all together now, if you could just get in my shot here now, quickly. Just quickly, lean in towards me, Lewis. Lean in towards me. Can we go there? I just want us all to look at this camera here now and just say, screw you, Southwark Council. 3, 2, 1, screw you, Southwark Council. Thank you very much. I'm
not saying it because it comes very close to the truth. Because I've got a personal vendetta against them, which is well known. So to you, it's a little joke. You just made it like a little joke about Southwark. But to me...
it's triggering. It's a real sort of therapy.
To me, it is a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a very similar situation happen in the Peckham, and where the old movie theater was in Peckham, where they, you know, you could park till 12, till 6 o'clock, and then from 6 o'clock you could park for another 12 hours. And
it's a nightmare. It's a menace.
It's a nightmare.
It's because they want us...
riveting TV.
This, by the way, Lewis, is gold. Thank you very much. Can I just say,
if we had done a little research beforehand, I would have, you say, Lewis, don't mention Southwark Council.
Don't mention Southwark Council. Don't do it. Right, mobile phone footage is circulated on social media showing the Republic of Ireland women's football team celebrating in the dressing room after qualifying for a major tournament for the first time. Footage emerged of the players singing rebel songs in support of the IRA. The song is currently number 2 in the UK iTunes charts as a result of this. UEFA has launched an investigation and will look into potential inappropriate behaviour. The FAI has said on Wednesday that they apologise for any offence caused by a song sung by players in the Ireland dressing room. I suppose, I mean, it's shocking stuff. For the final case here of Christie's courtroom, is the Republic of Ireland's women's team guilty or not guilty of essentially singing terrorist songs?
Guilty.
Guilty,
Yeah,
yes.
full stop.
Yeah, guilty.
From what I know, no, because the IRA was the founding army that created the Republic of Ireland. So they're just singing patriotic songs of Ireland. I might be wrong. It's not my country.
They did kill quite a few people.
But whatever. But in the same way, it's like Americans. It's like Americans.
Oh, well,
singing,
we've lived through Baghdad. Right, OK.
Yeah.
All right,
it's like Americans singing revolutionary songs in America about killing English people.
Does that happen? What?
Yeah, we sing it, whatever. That was Star Spangled Banner.
I get the
feeling we're not very popular.
No, fair enough.
But the Star Spangled Banner is a revolution.
OK, all right, well, I'm going to say guilty, because why not? All right, people, well, look, there's loads and loads and loads going on here. We've got loads to get stuck into for the remainder of the show. We're not going to do a national treasure, no. We're going to be launching something called Campions Champions, where we try to big up our military. The military get clobbered left, right and centre, especially in the left-wing press, not here on GB News. We want to do our bit. And, of course, it's very nearly time for Dog of the Week. Stay tuned, people. I will be back very, very shortly.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christie's. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Welcome back, everybody, to Friday Night Feast, and I am joined now by people will know this guy. GB News fans will know this guy. Anyone who watches Challenge Christie's will know this guy because he's the one who nearly got us killed by armed police when he decided to kidnap me for a Challenge Christie's. I am joined now by SAS veteran. Hey, there he is, Phil Campion for Campions Champions, which is something new that we're doing here. I've not done one yet here on Friday Night Feast. What is Campions Champions, Phil? Take it away.
Right, Campions Champions is basically showcasing people who work on our behalf 24 hours, 24, the whole year round to make our lives better. You know what I mean? People on the front line, people who look after us while we sleep, tighten our beds. This is all about them. This is their chance, OK? This is me identifying people who have gone above and beyond their line of duty, and that's what this is all about. Just giving them a bit of a chuck up and a bit of a sort of like thumbs up to them.
Absolutely,
you know?
because we don't really get enough of that, do we? I think.
We don't, no. And do you know what? The worst thing is, not only do they not get enough, other stations batter them down, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
They do. I'm sick and tired of reading in newspapers and online, etc., negative stories about our armed forces.
Absolutely. I want positivity, and I want to chuck the people up that look after us.
So, you've been out and about doing a few bits and bobs, haven't you?
I have been out and about doing a few bits and bobs. I think the script's going to go out the window now because we're miles away. So, listen, I went to Goodwood, and first of all, I met a team of people there who were doing tremendous stuff, OK, on behalf of people. Let's have a look at this interview if they've got it coming.
Yes, we've got an interview.
I'm at Mission Motorsport, and I'm with Jim, who is the CEO. Jim, can you tell us briefly what's it all about? What's going on?
So my background is in the army, and 10 years ago I just come back from Afghanistan, twitching a bit, mate, to be perfectly honest. But I've got a background in motorsport and was looking at how can you use motorsport in order to promote people's recovery.
Yeah.
And that idea, race, retrain, recover, comes back then doing work that we did actually with MOD, and we were established as the Forces Motorsport Charity back on the 1st of March 2012, so we're just a little over 10 years old now.
Cool. And you've attracted some big names here today, haven't you? You've got like Lotus and Bentley, and I've seen all sorts kicking around here.
There's some really cool stuff, and I mean we had one of Her Majesty's armoured Range Rovers here earlier with the blue lights in the dash and all the rest of it. But it's because we run a recovery motorsport program that's all about like trying to lift those who are wounded, injured, and sick. But we do a broader piece for the armed forces community, including the families, which is to help them get jobs in the industry.
OK. So yesterday, I went to Bulford Camp to meet a young soldier who's leaving the military medically discharged with mental health. During a period in his life where he's felt down, he's searched for an answer to his problems, and he's taken to barbering to help sort not just himself out, but others too. Have a butcher's at this.
I've come to Kiwi Barracks in Bulford, where I'm speaking to a young man today who's actually still serving, all right? But he's going to get out real soon. He's had a few problems with mental health in the past, but now he has realised that barbering is actually an awesome way of getting over and creating a place where people can speak and talk to each other. And mental health, by the way, is all about just that, talking to each other. So here's Ben, who's with me right now. How are you, Ben? You all right?
Yeah, good, thank you.
So days for you left to do now?
I'm not quite sure at the minute. I'm just waiting for my letter, which would tell me basically my last day of service, so a good few months.
But you're into this barbering now?
Yeah, I'm doing the barbering. I'm quite active. Obviously, I'm trying to get out there. And
you self-funded your course, didn't you?
I did, yes, yeah.
And how did you find it?
Yeah, it's good. It's quick paced. There's a lot to learn in like a short amount of time. It's only a 15-week course, so it's quite hands-on.
Mental health-wise, right, you've had your problems, and I'm not going to go into that today, I really don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
But you've identified that this is a space where men can talk, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Like when I went to my barber's and got my hair cut, you don't realise that you're speaking, and obviously it's like a weight lifted off your shoulders, and like you say, you feel like you're in charge of that, which is quite good for.
Yeah, you know, I feel when I sit in that barber's chair, do you know what I mean? I'm the boss for the day, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you come out, and you summed it up earlier when we was talking, you said, I feel good about myself.
Yeah, that's
when
it.
you come out of the barber's, I've had my hair done, I'm feeling good, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a great place to just talk to each other, isn't it?
It definitely is, and like I say, it's an easy situation. You don't realise that you're talking, and while you're talking, you're getting yourself out there, and you just generally feel a lot better when you leave.
Cool. So, moving on with the barbering thing, I know you want to go a little bit further than just barbering. I think you want to do podcasting as well,
Yeah,
at some stage.
Yeah, I'd like to obviously appeal to the wider nation sort of thing and get mental health more out there, because although it's out there, it's not. There's always more that could.
Lots of people talking about it, not too many people doing too much about it. In some instances, there's lots of people doing lots of great stuff.
Yeah.
But in other areas, I think it's got to be more widely accepted that mental health is something that, unless everybody starts talking about it, we can't really action, can we?
Yeah, especially in the armed forces as well. Like, it's a big problem, but a quiet problem, in the sense that.
It's because guys are sort of like. Guys don't want to go out there and you know, if you break your arm, you're like, whee, look at this, like, whee, snapped it right in half, I did.
Yeah.
When you're hurt upstairs, A, I can't see it, and B, it's like, oh dear, do I really want to say something about that?
That's it.
And we need to be at a position where anybody can talk about anything.
And yeah, that's it, and obviously realise that it is okay to talk, and it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Listen, I really, really hope that you get these podcasts and the barbering done at the same time. I can't see a better place. I can see that picture now, that podcast camera on you, barbering, talking to people about a whole heap of topics and promoting mental health. I really would like to see that.
Cheers, thank you.
And look, mate, you're going in the right direction, so best of luck with the future.
Cheers.
All right?
Tremendous guy there, Ben, tremendous guy. Anyway, finally, a group of serving troop commanders from the Royal Marines have taken it upon themselves to raise money for the Royal Marine charity. They're doing their version of an Iron Man, which is nails, I'm going to tell you. This is what they sent me, all right? This is what they sent me. Phil, hi Phil. Firstly, thanks again for supporting the challenge and for all the work you do, blah, blah, blah. As a team, we think the message we'd like to push out would be something like this. The idea for Hidden Help for Hidden Heroes came about to fundraise for the Royal Marines charity at a time that has seen external pressures placed upon everyday people, be it the COVID pandemic or now the rising cost of living. Hidden Help is not about us. The reason we want to stay anonymous stems from the fact that we don't want any of the limelight ourselves. It should all be focused on the charity, which does amazing work for the Royal Marines community. Hidden Heroes, many people aren't open about their struggles. A few aren't even open about their military service. However, some could be in real need of help with both physical and or psychological injuries they have as a result of their time in the service picked up. They go on to say that basically the challenge, to put it simply, we wanted to push ourselves to the limits, to build and draw attention to our venture, and basically they've come through me on Campions Champions, where I can say exactly who they are. They are at Hidden Help, at Hidden Help for Hidden Heroes. They are top guys, and if you can help them in any way, shape or form, they are doing some tremendous stuff. They really are.
Yes, indeed. Well, we normally do a section here called National Treasure, but this really is our National Treasure, OK? I mean, who could be a better National Treasure than indeed the people who fight and die and serve for this country? And all too often, Phil, they are talked down, they're not given the mental health care that they need afterwards, they're not given the housing that they need afterwards, and they're criticised as well. Sometimes they get a knock on the door 60 years after they've been in battle somewhere and get put on trial.
That sort of stuff, you know, is completely out of order, do you know what I mean? But I do believe that if more agencies like GBNews get on board and start promoting the good that these people do, the fact that they actually are prepared not only to do their day jobs, but go out and help people outside of what they do, without seeking recognition, without seeking fame and fortune, all right, without looking at Instagram likes or nothing like that, then that will actually help the cause for everybody, do you know what I mean? And when we can get people talking about it, then we can get stuff done, do you know what I mean?
There's lots of just incredibly good people in our military, aren't there?
Absolutely. They're not there because they don't get picked, they don't get selected, they don't get through training, OK, because they're no good at what they do. They are extremely capable, extremely competent and extremely willing to help. And I think we need to recognise that a little bit more in society.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I think as well, you know, there's a lot to talk about various different people that apparently we should be helping, apparently we should be breaking our backs to help. Well, there's some that are already right here, as far as I'm concerned, and it's the military.
Absolutely. Not just the military, though. You know, our frontline services, our police, our fire, our nurses.
Yeah.
Our nurses, they work round the clock. What recognition do they ever crave? None whatsoever. But I tell you what, they're there. They're there when you break yourself. You know, you go into hospital, you get picked up, you get pushed out, and you get treated properly. Do you know what I mean?
Big Phil Campion, that was Campions Champions. Thank you very, very much, mate. Great stuff. Great to have you on the show. And good luck to you, all right? And we're going to keep pushing this here on GB News. We want to highlight, shine a light onto some of the very, very good stories that come out of our military and the very good people that are in there as well. Because, frankly, you don't get that on other news outlets, do you? You just hear the bad stuff. But earlier, I went across to Paddington, essentially just around the corner from here, and I decided to trick the public into thinking that not only had Liz Truss stepped down, but that Boris Johnson had now been placed in as our interim Prime Minister. Take a look at what these gullible...
Neither of those are good. Well, no. Liz Truss stepping down, good thing. Boris, not good.
No, you wouldn't have him back?
No.
Just for a bit?
Not for a bit, no.
Who would you have?
Ooh, as an interim?
Yeah.
Rishi, probably. It's been the interim.
Absolutely rubbish, isn't it?
We don't want that?
Well, I don't know, really. No, he's a liar, isn't he? Boris is a liar.
What about Liz going?
Oh, she's gone. Good.
So who would you have?
Sunak, I suppose.
Yeah?
Yeah, I support Boris Johnson.
You support Boris Johnson?
Yeah.
OK, why?
Because I feel he has a good leadership quality.
He's got good... So you're happy that Boris is back?
Yeah.
You don't want Boris back?
No. Best news I've heard all day.
You happy to have Boris back?
I'm happy that Liz Truss is out.
Right.
Boris might be a different matter. I personally like Boris, but
There's a few too many stories.
Yeah, well, he's only in for a few months. I suppose there's only so much he can do.
Better than Liz Truss. I am so happy.
To be honest, my opinion is that whoever's in that seat, nothing's really going to change at the end of the day.
So you don't think Boris Johnson will be good just in the short term?
The man is a
Yeah, that woman there, I had to actually tell her, because normally what I do is I don't tell them that I've been lying to them. So, for example, when I said that in 73 years' time the world's going to end because we're going to get hit by an asteroid, I let everyone go away thinking that, right? Which I quite enjoy, because I like the idea that someone's just decided to go and quit their job. They thought, screw this, right? I've only got 73 years left to live. But anyway, right, I'm going to bring my panel back in now. Christine Cowgie. It's not actually beyond the realms of possibility that Liz Truss would have resigned. She may well have resigned. I've been on air 2 hours, so I haven't really checked the breaking.
I've been trying to keep up.
Yes, indeed. But the idea of bringing Boris back, they should never have biffed him, in my opinion.
I completely get the frustration over Boris's departure, because he's a fantastic politician, a once-in-a-lifetime communicator, and clearly very popular. But ultimately, the only person responsible for Boris leaving Downing Street is Boris.
Right.
And I think subsequent things about who he's nominated for the Lords and his speeches that he's already given, which may or may not be breaking rules, they don't indicate to me a man who had managed to put scandal behind him at that point. And I think, frankly, we would have had another 2 years' worth of nonsense.
OK, all right. Would you have Boris Johnson back?
I probably would have had him back, because at the end of the day, there's nothing that the Tories could do. They might as well put the dishwasher at the whatever at the Downing Street.
Are you a fan of Joe Biden? Because you're American.
I try not to be political.
Oh, OK.
But no, of course not. The guy's he's everything bad in this world.
He sounds like your neighbour.
I actually met Joe Biden back in when I was like 20 years old in university, and he struck me then. This is a God's honest truth. That sounds unbelievable.
Yeah.
But as the sleaziest human I had ever met at that time.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
As the most insincere person that I had met. He spoke in front of at the University of Pennsylvania. You can look it up. And he spoke to, and I was in the audience, and he looked at me, and he spoke to me because I was distinctive looking. I didn't dress like this back then.
Well, you've always been dashing.
Yeah, and
he was sleazy.
I don't know if sleazy is the right word. He was just insincere. He was unctuous. He was a politician. That's why you got to be careful when you meet politicians and you go, "Oh, he's such a nice guy."
No, he's not. He's not a nice guy.
No.
He'll sniff your hair. Right, OK, let's go to one of my favourite bits of the show. It's time now, ladies and gentlemen, for Dog of the Week. That's right, we have... Yeah, thank you. We've rehomed one dog since we started doing this segment. It was a lovely German Shepherd. We've been doing this now for months. I'm hoping that we can double that total tonight, because we have a lovely dog to show you who is currently living at the Raysted Animal Sanctuary. They are a multi-species rehoming centre, including dogs near Lewes in East Sussex, apparently. Let's get straight to them right now. I believe we can bring them in. Yes, OK, well, that is Elder. Oh. So Elder is a mixed crossbreed who's 1 year old and is what's known as a star dog, which means Special Training and Activity Requirements dog, who's been at the rehoming centre for a year. All this training has been fun. He's motivated with treats, he's motivated with toys, which he loves, he's friendly with other dogs, and he knows as well, but he needs to be the only dog in the home. And basically, he loves people, and he loves to play the clown as well. Certainly seems like a very active boy. And with me now, to tell us more about Elder, is Matt Goff, Head of Animal Welfare at Raysted Centre. Thank you very, very much. Matt Goff, Head of Animal Welfare at Raysted Centre. Matt, thank you so much. All right, tell us a bit about Elder then.
So Elder, he's an absolutely lovely dog. He's actually coming up to 2 now. His birthday's in a month's time, and he is a big, lovable, sensitive, very clever goofball, and really he just wants to please people and have a good time.
OK, all right. So Dog of the Week is a famous feature that we do. I've got a mate called Gary, and Gary called me earlier to say that some of his relatives would quite like to have a dog. I think he thinks this works a different way than it actually does, because we don't do dogs to order, Gary, OK? So I don't do... he wanted a King Charles Spaniel. I can't... He said, what do you think this is, the pound? Anyway, but seriously, why should people home Elder? He seems like a perfect dog.
I think Elder's quite a special dog, because he literally just wants to please everybody that he meets, and he's such a clever dog. When he meets other dogs out on the walk, he reacts to them really positively. Like I myself have a tiny little dog, and Elder knows that if he comes up to her too boisterously or too quickly, he'll scare her. So he gets down right on his belly, and he's really good with her, really sensitive. He's not had the best start in life. He is still going through his adolescence. But he's going to make someone a really, really rewarding pet. And the work that the kennels team at Racehead have done with him has just been fantastic and really shows his potential.
Oh, my gosh, I tell you what, I'm falling in love with this dog, actually. So he is quite good on a walk.
He's great on a walk. He loves sniffing, he loves exploring, and he just loves finding things to play with.
OK, and so he has to be the only dog in the house, do we think? Do you think there's any chance he might be good if he got used to kids, for example, if people have got a family, or best not to have kids at the minute?
I think if they were mature, older children who are really sensible, but because of his size, he is a big dog, and because he gets boisterous and a little bit overwhelmed with what's going on inside him, he could quite easily knock smaller kids over. So I'd say teenagers and up. OK, fantastic. Now, how can people get in touch with you at Racehead Centre if they are looking at Elder now and they are falling in love? How can they get in touch? If you go to www.racehead.org and have a look at our dogs on there, and Elder, if you search for Racehead Star Dogs, Elder actually has his very own special webpage where you can see all the videos of his training and the work the teams have done with him.
Oh, fantastic. We've been playing a lot of videos of Elder over the top of you talking there, and I must say, we're going to get offers flooding in left, right and centre. But also, as ever, can I just say a massive, massive thank you, Matt, to you, because people like you make the world go round, all right? You've given up your Friday night. It's coming up to 5 to 9 p.m. on a Friday evening. Now, you could be out doing anything, and instead you are here desperately trying to get Elder a forever home. And I think you deserve a massive round of applause for that, Matt. So well done. Good stuff. Matt Goff there, Head of Animal Welfare at the Racehead Centre. Christian County, if you don't want that dog, you're evil.
Maybe. No,
you're a cat man, aren't you?
I'm not, and I've had a massive conversion.
Okay.
I was terrified of dogs growing up, absolutely terrified, and it was only the last few years that I just realised they weren't as scary as I thought they were.
Yes,
now
exactly.
I'm a massive convert.
All right, people. Well, look, Elder is quite literally there for the taking, all right? And if you don't want to give Elder a forever home, like I've said, I do think you're a bit evil. And for my friend Gary, who is watching, is that good enough for you, Gary? Hey, is that good enough for you? 1 year old, great on a walk, looks lovely, might be all right with older kids. I mean, come on, mate, pull your finger out. Get in touch, OK, if you want to rehome Elder. But now, people, it's time for this. So, earlier on, I tried to palm off my producer, some would say, victim's hair. Let's just see what offers we've actually had for his lovely, lovely hair. Dulcie from the Scottish Highlands says, we'll stretch our financing and pay 29p. Hey, 29p, there we go. Pauline says, I'll bid 10p. Ryan, Ryan's the winner. Ryan's got 79p for a bag of hair. Also, any teeth available? That's next week's challenge, Ryan, so we'll bring you that then. But thank you very, very much. Great stuff. Yes, if you are just joining us, you can go online now and have a look at that clip. This week's challenge, Christie's, was hairdressing. I shaved a producer's head and we are selling it, so Ryan now owns that hair. Well done, Ryan. Right, gosh, is that time already? Has anyone got a taxi for Christie's?
Taxi for Christie's.
Well, this was the week when the Metro congratulated Kwasi Kwarteng on an amazing achievement. There we go. Kwasi Kwarteng becomes the second shortest serving Chancellor, brackets, the first one died. And as chaos reigns at number 10, as football manager Big Sam Allardyce threw his hat into the ring for the top job. Give it Big Sam. Give it Big Sam. That's right. He'll keep us up. Well, look, coming up, everybody, it's the electric Mark Dolan. With Mark Dolan tonight, thank you very much to my wonderful panel. Great to have you. Great to have you. We will see you both again very, very shortly, everybody. Thank you very much for watching Friday Night Feast. I will be back next week. See ya.
Good evening. Alex Deakin here with your weekend weather update from the Met Office. The mixed picture continues. Sunshine and showers and a breezy day on Saturday. Sunday looking dry and bright for the most part before more wet and windy weather arrives from the southwest. A whole host of low pressure systems and weather fronts drifting in from the Atlantic at the moment. They'll all bring bands of showers across the country over the next 24 to 36 hours. A couple of those bands sinking south this evening, but many places dry this evening, the main exception being across the Midlands and parts of Wales. And then later in the night, we'll see another band of quite heavy rain move across western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Ahead of that, could easily see some frost across eastern Scotland, but another pretty mild night with a lot of cloud across the south. A real mishmash again then on Saturday. Could be quite a wet start for Wales and northern England, but that rain should soon scoot away, lingering a little longer in northeast Scotland. Sunny spells will follow, but so will a whole host of showers. A zone of them crossing the Midlands late in the day, more for West Wales and southwest Scotland, along with Northern Ireland. Quite a cool feeling day here. Blustery conditions on western coast, making it feel rather fresh. 16 or 17 the high in the southeast and East Anglia, where there will be plenty of showers through Saturday evening, and the showers continue throughout the night over northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. But it does turn a little drier across the south as we head into Sunday, and the showers over northern England, Northern Ireland should fade through the morning, and even across Scotland actually the showers tending to ease off as we go through Sunday. So many places actually dry and bright for most of Sunday, with some good spells of sunshine, and the wind's a little lighter as well. Temperatures 16, 17 in the south, 13 or 14 further north. The wind's starting to pick up in the southwest, however, and behind me here is a developing area of low pressure that is moving in from the southwest and will bring some rain to Northern Ireland on Sunday evening. Wet and windy weather spreading everywhere during Sunday night.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
On Mark Dolan tonight, in a Government in Crisis special, we will be reacting to this.
As Prime Minister, I will always act in the national interest. This is always my first consideration. I want to be honest, this is difficult, but we will get through this storm, and we will deliver the strong and sustained growth that can transform the prosperity of our country.
Don't panic, Captain Mannering. Can Liz Truss survive? Will the U-turn settle the markets? Will the public ever forgive this chaos? And is Jeremy Hunt the right choice for Chancellor? We'll hear from voices across the political spectrum, and I'll be giving my reaction in my Big Opinion monologue in just a few minutes' time. Take my word for it, you won't want to miss it. Not a second to lose, reacting to this developing story, which changes by the minute. It's going to be my all-star panel, but first the headlines with Ray Addison.
Thanks, Mark. Here's the latest from the GB Newsroom. The Prime Minister has announced yet another mini-budget U-turn, but says she isn't resigning. Liz Truss chose to reverse the government's plan to scrap the planned rise in corporation tax. It came shortly after sacking Kwasi Kwarteng as Chancellor and replacing him with former Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt. Ms Truss says she's still committed to her economic plan for growth.
I have acted decisively today because my priority is ensuring our country's economic stability. As Prime Minister, I will always act in the national interest. This is always my first consideration. I want to be honest, this is difficult, but we will get through this storm, and we will deliver the strong and sustained growth that can transform the prosperity of our country for generations to come.
Well, the Shadow Chancellor is not convinced. Rachel Reeves says the trickle-down economics of the Tory party no longer work.
The partial U-turn today does not reverse the whole budget, which is what is needed. The government needs to go back to the drawing board, not just picking out individual measures. Another change in who is running the Treasury, another Tory Chancellor, isn't the answer to the challenges that we face as a country.
In other news, the National Gallery in London says the Vincent van Gogh painting targeted by climate activists earlier today is now back on display. Two Just Stop Oil campaigners threw cans of tomato soup over the sunflower's portrait in protest against fossil fuels. They then glued themselves to the wall. They've since been arrested for criminal damage and aggravated trespass. The Met Police saying that the painting was undamaged as it's behind glass. 14 people have been killed in an explosion at a coal mine in northern Turkey. According to reports, 49 miners have been trapped more than 300 metres below ground. The country's Disaster Management Authority says the cause of the blast is currently unknown. Local TV footage shows people being carried to ambulances with emergency personnel crowding the area. We'll bring you more on that story as it happens. The actor Robbie Coltrane has died. Scottish-born Coltrane won 3 BAFTAs for his portrayal of Fitz in the 90s TV drama Cracker, but he'll probably be best remembered for his role as Hagrid in the Harry Potter films. The actor Stephen Fry said he'll be dreadfully missed. He was 72 years old. Detectives say the prime suspect in the murder of 19-year-old Leah Croucher, who went missing 3 years ago in Milton Keynes, killed himself in April 2019. Leah was last seen in CCTV footage in February of that same year. Thames Valley Police launched a murder inquiry after finding human remains along with Leah's personal items in a house that the suspect, Neil Maxwell, was said to have been working at. Maxwell had previous convictions for sexual offences against women and girls. We're on TV, online and on DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Back now to Mark Dolan.
Many thanks to Ray Addison, who returns in an hour's time. Welcome to Mark Dolan tonight. In just one moment, my reaction to the sacking of Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng and the biggest U-turn since Maureen from driving school. Tonight, I've told producer Tom to tear up the running order. This is the running order. And we will start again. That's right, tonight, turns out I can't tear paper, it's our Government in Crisis special. Can Liz Truss survive? Will the U-turn settle the markets? Will the public ever forgive this chaos? And this is Jeremy Hunt. He's the new Chancellor. Is he the right man for the job? Well, I'll be dealing with the lockdown-loving, authoritarian Jeremy Hunt
In my take at 10 at the top of the next hour, you won't want to miss it. It is not for the faint-hearted. We're going to hear from voices from across the political spectrum, including Margaret Thatcher's former top advisor. Also, we're going to speak to Labour as well. Are they edging closer to power, or are the champagne corks being popped too soon? Plus, my Mark Meets guest is disgraced former Conservative MP Neil Parish, losing his job for admitting watching pornography in the House of Commons. Well, in fairness to him, at least it was more entertaining than watching that press conference today. And he's probably glad to be out of politics at the moment. Well, Neil Parish tells his incredible story and how he's built his life after 10 o'clock. As always, we've got the papers at 10:30 full of this government in crisis, and we'll deal with more of the fallout in terms of politics wider in this country. Do we need a snap election? Can Liz Truss hang on? Plus, Just Stop Oil back to their old tricks, and Robbie Coltrane remembered. So a really busy show, reacting to all of the day's big stories. My brilliant panel. Political commentator and campaigner Gina Miller. Columnist and best-selling author Emma Wolfe. And lawyer and broadcaster Rebecca Jane. Now, I want to hear from you throughout the show. Mark at gbnews.uk. Do you still have faith in Liz Truss? Is she the right person to lead this country? What's your reaction to the U-turn on corporation tax and the sacking of Kwasi Kwarteng? Now, this programme has a golden rule. We don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. So it's our Government in Crisis special. You won't want to miss a second. Let's start with this. There's no point having a Ferrari unless you can drive it fast. Although I supported Rishi Sunak for the Tory leadership, I actually called for him to take over in January, I accepted the result of Liz Truss and have been foursquare behind her and her vision for radical growth. I was persuaded that whilst tax cuts involved borrowing and a bit of inflationary pressure, it would move our economy away from the long-term legacy of tax and spend to low tax and high growth. Plus, these measures in that mini budget promised to prevent a long and deep recession, something borne out by the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, who admitted this week the mini budget would boost growth, taking the UK to the top of the G7 in terms of economic expansion. Well, all of that, of course, went with the departure of the highly talented and clever Kwasi Kwarteng, to whom the PM delivered a Kwasi karate chop. A Kwasi chop. Cobra Kwasi, the Kwasi kid. And I've pushed back on needless personal attacks on Liz Truss, a talented and highly experienced politician. But at this press conference today, she was dressed in black, cutting a figure of someone in attendance at her own funeral. She sacked Kwasi Kwarteng, but didn't blame him for this mess, either because she's afraid of making an enemy of her ex-chancellor or because she admits she shares the blame for the current situation. At just over 7 minutes, the press conference wasn't much longer than your average cartoon. And I'm afraid to say it was a Mickey Mouse performance from Truss herself. Her answers to the tiny handful of questions that she took from journalists were so robotic they put Theresa May, Peter Crouch and the Terminator to shame. Well, I'm afraid to say that Truss's political future looks terminal now. All of it, and crunched the numbers, satisfaction of the economic case for what she was doing was right, but she buckled under political, not economic pressure, and that is profoundly disappointing. Truss looked like a hostage today, a passenger in this crisis, and she didn't even know the names of the journalists that would be questioning her, which made the press conference, with all of its long pauses, more awkward than a Miliband family reunion. Liz Truss's vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy was and is the right one. A richer country with a high national income is by far the best way to reduce the deficit, pay for public services and support the poorest in our society. It's sad that we live in an unequal society, but we do. We live in an unequal society. We need rich people who pay a disproportionate amount into the Treasury's coffers. The top-rate tax cut was an attempt to attract even more people to live here, invest here, spend their money here and pay their taxes here. The wealthy are the goose that lay the golden eggs. Well, in the last couple of weeks, after a series of devastating and needless U-turns, that goose is cooked and the eggs are on Liz Truss's face. She should have stuck with her vision. She should have gone down fighting. But when she relented on the top-rate tax cut, she was done for. The media, Tory backbenchers, the opposition and the markets smelt blood. By scrapping that plan to reduce taxes for the wealthiest, she's given them more than an armful. It's been a blood transfusion. And China's sympathiser, lockdown-loving, zero-COVID globalist Remainer Jeremy Hunt in the Treasury was the final insult. I'll be dealing with him in an hour's time in my Take at 10. Meanwhile, a Conservative government is now going to crank up corporation tax on businesses as we enter a downturn. How does that end, do you suppose? Cancelled investment, shrinking budgets for research and development, and laid off staff. Well done, everyone. Scrapping tax cuts for struggling businesses, you know, those organisations that create national income and employ people, means Truss's premiership is now like a Ferrari with the speed limited to 20 miles an hour. She should have put her foot down in more ways than one. But this fumbling and equivocal performance today inspired no one, the markets, the media, and most crucially, her own backbenchers. They're now more nervous than Gary Glitter at a branch of PC World. I want Liz Truss to succeed, but by completely surrendering to the anti-growth coalition, she gave them an inch and they've taken a mile. And Liz Truss's defenestration of Kwasi Kwarteng makes it highly likely she will follow him through that hole in the window in Downing Street. This was a bad day for Liz Truss, a bad day for the economy, and a bad day for Britain. I hope I'm wrong, but like the turkey on the 25th of December, it looks like Truss will be stuffed by Christmas. It turns out we didn't pull a cracker. Now, I have backed Liz Truss to the hilt, including during the rather tumultuous period after that mini-budget. Many watching will not like my message about Truss today, but I think she let herself down. She should not have appointed Jeremy Hunt. I'll give my strong views on that in my Take at 10 at the top of the next hour. Plus, she's U-turned on two major tax proposals. It's very disappointing. And I'm just going to say that whatever I lay out in my big opinion monologue, I'll always be straight with you. And I'll always say what I think from the bottom of my heart. I don't think it's game over for Liz Truss, but I think she's on the canvas and I think the referee is counting to 10. But what is your view? mark@gbnews.uk. Do get in touch if you're supportive of Liz Truss and you think that she's going to recalibrate and rebuild her premiership. If you're optimistic, do let me know, mark@gbnews.uk. Reacting to that and all of the big stories of the day are my brilliant panel of author, lawyer and broadcaster Rebecca Jane, political activist and campaigner Gina Miller, plus best-selling author and columnist Emma Wolfe. Gina Miller, a very warm welcome to Mark Dolan tonight, your debut appearance on the panel. And what a day to choose it.
Well, yes, I couldn't really have picked a more chaotic day, could I, really?
No. What's your reaction to the firing of Kwasi Kwarteng?
Well, first of all, I'm quite shocked at your monologue you said, because it's pure nonsense. I mean, I can't actually quite believe what you've just said, because you've just diatribed opinions based on absolutely nothing, because you're basically saying the markets reacted or went into freefall because of Liz Truss's U-turns. You are dismissing every single major institution in the UK, in every single international institution, every organisation, every bank, every economist.
Not every economist.
No. Apart from maybe 2 in the UK. But basically...
Including Margaret Thatcher's chief economic advisor in the early 80s, Professor Patrick Minford.
Exactly.
No intellectual slouch, Gina
Say no
Miller.
more. Patrick Minford. That's my point. So basically, you're saying...
And the IMF?
No. And what you said about the IMF, that was spin from number 10, because there is nowhere in the IMF report, if you read it, that actually says that they backed Kwasi Kwarteng's strategy.
They said
it's
it
not
would...
in... Have you read the report? It doesn't say that.
I've read
it
key
does
parts
not say
of it.
that.
Gina Miller, it says in black and white that the mini-budget will lift economic output. They said it will produce inflationary pressures, but they said it will boost economic growth, and that Britain would have the biggest expansion of the G7 next year. But of course, all of that is dust now, because the coalition against growth, including your good self, have won.
Well, no, actually, I'd say that everybody agrees in growth. That's different. So the goal of growth is actually what everyone agrees on. It's about the execution, how you get there. But what I'm saying is that the idea that Liz Truss is in trouble because of her U-turn, and that's why the markets reacted, is not true. The fact that today after the announcement, the markets still aren't very happy. I work in investments. I'm telling you that the last 13, 14 days have been catastrophic. People, the way that the government have reacted or acted has meant the endangering of people, 7 million people on mortgages, on pensions, what they've done to the gilt market. I mean, it is catastrophic to have been so irresponsible in what they've done. You cannot defend it in any way, shape or form.
Now, that mini-budget, Gina Miller, the mini-budget was a failure of communication, not of policy.
Yes, it was a failure of policy.
I've been on record,
I'm sorry,
Gina Miller.
you cannot have... There is nowhere that shows you can have unfunded tax cuts to that degree in this climate. There is nowhere that shows that. There were good things in the budget. I will absolutely say that the addressing of the energy crisis has been underplayed. I absolutely think that in the negative, the positive has been lost. Absolutely, 100% agree with that.
Those tax cuts were not unfunded. Kwasi Kwarteng is a student of economic history, Gina Miller.
Sorry?
It's very clear. It's clear that global energy prices are tumbling, and the support for household and business energy bills in the next 2 years will be a fraction of what was once feared.
OK, so if you're so right, why are they U-turning on it then? Exactly. If you're so right, why are they U-turning?
Because of Liz Truss yielding to political pressure. She knew that there was, Emma Wolf, a mutiny happening within her own party, the coalition against economic growth, who have won the day. And we'll all be the poorer for it, Emma Wolf.
I hate to say I'm right, but I'm right. I knew that Liz Truss, and Gina is too, I knew that Liz Truss would be an appalling Prime Minister. I knew that. And I was on here a couple of weeks ago, and you were saying the mini-budget was great, Mark, and you were wrong.
It still is.
And
It was poorly communicated.
And when you say she should go down fighting, this is not a game. This is real people's lives.
Correct.
This is people's mortgages, people's pensions, people's healthcare, people's cost of living. This is real people's lives. It's not a joke.
Indeed, and this is about...
you know what? She's made things 1,000 times worse for herself with today's press conference. It was an embarrassment. You talk about it being a Mickey Mouse event. People, Conservative MPs who were there were saying it was more like a wake. The woman, OK, she's a poor performer, she's a wooden performer, but she is also... She's absolutely not equipped to be Prime Minister of this country. She and her Chancellor have made an... I mean, what have they done in the last 3 weeks? They had 2 weeks, a very, very soft, couple of weeks opening with the period of national mourning. What they have done to this country in the last 3 weeks is absolutely shocking.
Now, what have they done, Emma Wolf? Because the pound has recovered, the cost of government borrowing has dropped, and it's very, very clear that when the Office for Budget Responsibility do the due diligence at the end of this month, very little will be found wanting. It's
is that why they tried to...
Inflation may I speak? Inflation looks to have topped out. Government support for energy bills will cut inflation in half.
You keep saying that about inflation.
Secondly, talk of spiralling interest rates is wide of the markets for the birds. Yes, there is global pressure on interest rates, but in the UK, with inflation hopefully having maxed out, I think that a lot of this has been overcooked. And we must stress, Emma Wolf, that it's not the international markets that run Britain, it's the Prime Minister, it's the elected government.
Market confidence is on the floor. Public opinion, the belief in the government, the confidence in the government...
Markets go up and down like a bride's nightie.
Goodness me.
Oh, my goodness.
It's quite racy. Public
Not
opinion
my wedding night.
What, public opinion stands for nothing? 62% of the public don't believe that the Prime Minister is capable of doing her job. The Labour lead, the Labour surging ahead in the polls, that stands for nothing. Financial, political turmoil.
Well,
I mean, it may be funny to you, it may be a joke, but while the government is in crisis, which is the name of your programme, government is not functioning.
It's not a joke to me. Emma, what is not a joke to me is the deficit and is decades of anemic growth, tax and spend. Liz Truss, she had a bold idea, which is to recalibrate and reinvent our economy for the 21st century. But in that, Rebecca Jane, she has failed. And I'm afraid to say that today she's done it to herself. She's buckled to political and economic pressure. I think she should have gone down fighting. What's your view?
No, I said it from the beginning. She's the weakest leader that we could have possibly ever chosen. She's a middle manager at best who accidentally became a leader of a G7 country. Like, what on earth happened here? We didn't
Rebecca
vote.
Jane.
We didn't vote for this
Rebecca
woman.
Jane. Oh, can I just say,
what just happened? Some like boxing gloves or something.
What just happened?
Objection, Your Honour. Rebecca Jane, of course I'll give you your right to reply. When she became Prime Minister, she was the most experienced cabinet member in the government.
No.
It's nonsense. Look at what she's done. She's trashed the country, for goodness sake.
In what way?
Wait, in what way? Right, OK, lovely. Do you know what? We come on this show quite often and not many people write notes on these things, but do you know what? We've got novels.
We've all
we have novels. Right, so let's talk about how the country
I'm getting a three-way handbagging.
That's why you're
Give it a
sitting on the
break.
other side of the studio, because you don't dare come over here.
So, we've got 7 million people sat on the NHS waiting list. Teachers posted... Wait, Mark. Teachers, postal workers, train strikes, court backlogs. Monday, the pensions collapse. Tuesday, the mortgages collapse. She's hung him out to dry, and she's the one who's more than responsible for this absolute and utter nonsense. So we didn't want her in the first place. You might have done.
I backed Dishley Rishi, Rebecca Jane, and I accept the points you made. But the point is, Rebecca Jane, that. It's very clear from most economists that if this mini-budget had been allowed to happen, it would have incentivised wealthy people to come here, make their money here.
Mark, in that case, why did they try to bury the OBR report? Why have they tried? Why have
They buried nothing. They rushed it out.
Published?
The mini-budget was a failure of communication, of sequencing, of strategy, but not of policy.
Chief Investment Officer of UBS, I think he probably knows better than you. And what he said about the UK government is that he said, actually, it's being run by a doomsday cult, is what he called it. And this is somebody who is UBS chief economist for the entire globe of the UBS operation. You've got organisations like T.S. Lombard, one of the most world-respected organisations, saying that they're going to actually do a new index called the Moron Leadership Index, which is all about Liz Truss. I mean, these are serious organisations.
One thought, before I come to you, Emma. Gina, I defer to your expertise in the world of the financial market.
I'm dealing with this every day. I think I know better than you on this.
What is the possible capitalist argument for raising corporation tax as the country enters a downturn? Plus, you must concede that mini-budget, for all of the inflationary and borrowing risk that it brought, which I identified and accepted in my monologue, you must admit the mini-budget would have prevented a recession, or at least, if we had one, shallower and shorter.
It's actually caused it. Have you not realised that? Have you not realised that that's what's caused it?
Because not according to the IMF.
No, you really need to go back and read that report. But what I would say is, so you've got every organisation saying that it's not, the goal of growth is not wrong. The actual interventions to help people in the cost of living crisis, the energy crisis, were not wrong. But trying to bring in tax cuts that are unfunded to actually boost growth, there is no economic theorist or expert who will say this was the right time to do it. And actually, what that mini-budget showed is she has no political acumen because there was no need to bring in some of these measures. She could have left it till later and see if things got better and if this was her goal. But why would you decide that you'd bring it all together in a mini-budget when it wasn't necessary? By the way, the reason they called it a mini-budget was to get round the fact that they needed the OBR report. So they were also lying.
Because they wanted... Gina Miller, they wanted to act quickly. They wanted to act quickly to reassure my viewers...
The OBR said that they had the reports ready.
Mark.
They did say that.
That's not the case because the OBR had not seen that mini-budget, which of course involved protection
because no one
of
had seen it.
households in terms of their budget, in terms of their heating and energy bills. Emma Wolf, you get the last word. We'll of course be back in a few minutes.
And the funniest thing of all is that she thought she could throw Kwasi Kwarteng under the bus today and that her fingerprints aren't all over this budget. And the even funniest thing of all is they didn't even prepare for that press conference. No one in number 10 thought, there might be some tough questions. She had no answer to those questions. She sacked all the good, capable, experienced people. In number 10, she's got a bunch of teenagers running the show, and she didn't even wargame like, there might be a question about whether I should resign. She didn't know how. She didn't know the names of Chris Mason or Harry Coles. She didn't know who the journalists were, the political journalists.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I mentioned that in my big opinion as well. I'll grant you that today's press conference was a disaster. She was dressed in black, akin to somebody attending her own funeral. So definitely she's in the wars at the moment. By the way, who booked today's panel? Tom, what's going on? Stewards' inquiry. It's going to be a long 2 hours. You know something?
Let's just walk out.
We love a debate.
I actually really
we love a right old ding-dong. And by the way, unlike a lot of very famous, high-profile breakfast TV presenters, I never storm off set because I love it. This show is about opinion, it's about debate, and I love our panel tonight, and I want you to join the conversation. Mark at gbnews.uk. Stick around because I'll get another kicking very shortly. Next up, we'll be discussing the appointment of Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor, and also, should Liz Truss resign in the national interest? Don't go anywhere.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christie's. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other pay-per-review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Well, the emails are coming in thick and fast. A very big reaction to my big opinion monologue. mark@gbnews.uk is the address. And I'll come to your emails very, very shortly indeed. But first, we'll do this. Before I get to those spicy emails, it's time for the big question in which we debate a major news story of the day. And tonight, following the sacking of Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng amid economic, political and market chaos, and with opposition coming not just from Labour benches but from colleagues behind her in the Tory party, should Liz Truss tonight consider her position? So that's tonight's big question. Should Liz Truss resign? Joining me to discuss this is a rising star of the Labour Party, Labour councillor Fatima Kamara, and political strategist and former aide to Margaret Thatcher, Neil Gardner. Great to have both of you on the show. Can I start with you, Fatima? Do you think that Liz Truss should consider her position?
Thank you and good evening, Mark. Thank you for having me on your show. I definitely think Liz Truss should. And it's music to my ear that I can hear you saying that even though you really supported her, you've had to backtrack slightly based on her performance. I think the right thing to do is to step aside. I think sacking Kwasi Kwarteng, it's not going to address the situation. He did not, Kwasi Kwarteng didn't come out to the public and talk to the public about the budget without having consulted the Prime Minister. Liz Truss is the Prime Minister. And, like your previous speaker said, her fingerprint is all over this. So I think the right thing that she needs to do and consider quite carefully is to resign, most definitely.
Fatima Kamara, she has just won a mandate from her own party. She needs a fair crack of the whip, doesn't she?
She does need a fair crack of the whip, Mark, but I think there's a saying that something that's going to work, you will start to see the lines and the traces of it from the start. As you know, and I'm sure you cover this daily, and I'm sure you know about Liz Truss's history as a political history. She has shown to be very paper-light. She's a very paper-light Prime Minister, as I would say. It's very easy, when she's been interviewed, she doesn't give people the sort of meat and notion and confidence that this is what she stands for and take responsibility as a Prime Minister. It's very easy to pass it on or easy to let it slide. And that is not the sort of Prime Minister the UK deserves, especially at this sort of very challenging economic crisis that the UK is facing.
However, Fatima, she's an extremely experienced cabinet minister, far more experienced in government than, of course, Keir Starmer, who has no government experience. Former Chief Secretary to the Treasury. She was in the Justice Department as Justice Secretary. Trade Secretary, she signed all those trade deals to make Brexit a success. And she stood up to Vladimir Putin in relation to Ukraine. So perhaps Liz Truss has just had a bad day or perhaps a bad couple of weeks at the office. But 2 years is a long time in politics.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think experience is quite relative, if you want to say that. In everything that you've summarized in terms of what she's achieved, I would actually want to go back and question in terms of the actual delivery of it. As far as I'm concerned and as far as I know, Liz Truss hasn't put out something very tangible since she's been a Prime Minister. Yes, she's been part of the Conservative Party for a long time, but in terms of her deliverables, you're talking about experience. When you talk about experience, you literally it has to be measurable. I can't tell you, even as a Labour councillor and someone who's very passionate about politics and also work in the healthcare sector, what Liz Truss stands for at this time. And now, especially that she's gone and actually also appoint Jeremy Hunt as a Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Oh, yes, we'll come to Jeremy Hunt in a moment. Niall Gardner, brilliant to have you on the show, joining us live from the United States, political strategist, former aide and advisor to Margaret Thatcher. What's your overview of today's press conference, the sacking of Kwasi Kwarteng? I've said it's a bad day for Britain, a bad day for Liz Truss and a bad day for the economy.
Well, Mark, thanks very much for having me on the show today. And as you point out, I think this has been a disastrous day, actually, for the British government, a very bad day for the Prime Minister. And the removal of Kwasi Kwarteng as Chancellor, I think, was a staggeringly poor move for the British government to make, that sends all the wrong signals. And basically, I think that the Prime Minister really surrendered to the growing sort of left-wing mob. And that includes, of course, a lot of Conservative MPs who are on the left. And this is a surrender to those who believe in British decline. It's a surrender to those who are opposed to cutting taxes. It's a surrender to the big government elites, frankly. And so I think it's a very sad day, actually, for the Conservative Party. Some very bad decisions being made. And also the press conference by the Prime Minister was hugely disappointing here. And so I think what we have today are large numbers of grassroots Conservatives who are massively disappointed with the leadership of the Conservative Party at this time. And we now have the spectre, frankly, on the horizon of a left-wing socialist government, a Labour government that could take the reins of power, perhaps a couple of years from now, unless the Conservatives are willing to actually act like Conservatives and advance real Conservative policies. But if you're surrendering to the left, this is not the right way to lead the country at this time.
And the way that Liz Truss has yielded to those voices on the left within her own party is going to be very disappointing. What do you think it means, Niall Gardiner, for her political future?
Well, that's a great question here. And without a doubt, Liz Truss has been knifed in the back by the Tory wets, and there are large numbers of Tory wets. Many of the same MPs, of course, knifed Boris Johnson in the back. Getting rid of Boris, I think, was a huge mistake by the Conservatives. And they're now facing, I think, the continuing consequences of that very dangerous decision. Also, many of the Tory wets as well oppose Brexit also. And so these are not, in my view, instinctive Conservatives at all. And what we have seen over the course of the last few days, Mark, certainly, are the stirrings of a coup within the Conservative Party. And there are many Conservative MPs who want to get rid of Liz Truss, who want to impose, of course, Rishi Sunak in some kind of coronation here, which would be fundamentally undemocratic, denying grassroots Conservatives the vote. But this is a dangerous moment, I think, for the Conservative Party. And I think that certainly Liz Truss's position is very perilous right now. But the alternative to Liz Truss as Prime Minister would be a Conservative government run by Tory wets. And you cannot distinguish these wets, actually, frankly, from the Labour Party. What's the difference between them and the Socialists, really? And so, in my view, it's far better for Liz Truss to stay as Prime Minister, despite the huge mistakes that we've seen today. But what is the alternative, frankly? And, the Conservatives have got to really act like a Conservative party and not like a sort of lightweight Labour Party, frankly, which is what we would see, I think, if there's an alternative put in place to Liz Truss at this time. But the decisions made today, absolutely disastrous. U-turns are catastrophic. My former boss, Margaret Thatcher, I think, would have been absolutely appalled by what she's seen today. Kwasi Kwarteng has been, left out to dry, basically. And really, this sends all the wrong signals here. And the last thing Britain needs, frankly, is a nation that is going to fall into decline, that will be taken over eventually by far left socialists in conjunction with the SNP. That would be catastrophic for the United Kingdom. It would be the end of the United Kingdom as we know it. It would also threaten the future of Brexit.
Fatima Kamara, I don't know whether Keir Starmer is measuring up curtains for number 10, but a Labour government would give the markets far more fright than this Tory government, wouldn't they, given the fact that they would give pay rises to everyone in the public sector because Labour is in the pocket of the unions. And of course, they're going to try that terrible idea of governments investing in business by starting this rather terrifying 1970s style green investment company based upon flaky renewables, pouring taxpayers' billions into a green experiment. That sounds expensive to me.
Mark, I think you're very clear in terms of, as the Labour Party, what our objectives are and the way forward and the plans.
Splash the cash.
And the plans that has been laid out by Sir Keir Starmer, and that is what the Labour Party stand for. Just as if you were looking at the Conservative, Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng came up with a little so-called mini budget, and that is what people, that is what it is. So I, as a Labour councillor, I would say to you, the Labour Party, what it stands for is very clear. And in terms of delivering and also bringing manufacturing in-house and also seeing how we would help the 99%, we need to work with the 99% and not lining the pocket of those who already have. When we have a cost of living crisis and people going without food and a very constricted workforce that we need to work on. And I think the main thing is we need to look at what needs to happen here and now instead of kind of deviating attention and saying, but what about this and what about that? Yes, it all adds up in the main, but what do we need to do now? And Sir Keir Starmer, as the Labour Party leader, has made it very clear in terms of what the Labour Party stands for and what we will do to achieve that.
Spending money, Fatima, and the country is broke. The cupboard is bare, with echoes of 2010 when the outgoing Labour Treasury Minister Liam Byrne left a note in one of the red boxes saying to his Tory replacement, sorry, there's no money left. That's what Labour does, to paraphrase Margaret Thatcher, Niall Gardner's former boss. Socialists are very good at spending other people's money until it runs out.
Spending money with everything you need to spend to be able to get to a place where you're able to get comfortable and also know that you have invested. You have to invest to be able to make the necessary change. As it stands within the Conservative Party, the NHS just by itself has a deficit of 10.6 or 10.2 billion in terms of infrastructures that needs to be sorted out and contracts and things like that. So those are all of the little things that need to be addressed. It looks little, but it's quite humongous that within this Conservative Party, we've had to let things ride and just let things roll. There's no money, but we're still offering a certain percentage of the 1%, things that we should be focusing on for people who really do need it and people who are actually starving, going without paying their mortgages and their rent, for example. And we're trying to say, well, this is what needs to happen when that is not the case. We need to invest initially to be able to come back and say, this is what we can do and do it better.
But it's that snake oil world of investment which is spending money and the cupboard's bare. We're broke, partly because of those lockdowns that your boss Keir Starmer was so keen on. We probably would have had more lockdowns if he'd been Prime Minister. He wanted circuit breaker lockdowns. He called Freedom Day in July of last year reckless. So the bottom line is Britain would be even more broke if we'd had a Labour government, and it certainly will be if we get one. Why are you so focused on the 99% and not the 1%? Because I agree with you about taking care of the poorest in our society, Fatima. On that, we are soulmates. But the 1% pay most of the taxes. Rather than bash the rich, we should love bomb them.
Yeah, that is what you think. We should love bomb them. But what I'm talking to you about is
they pay all the
99%. The 99% who actually we need to make sure they go back to work. The 99% who a good percentage is on 0-hour contract. The 99% who we need to make sure actually go back to actually uplift our economy. And also especially with the public sector with regards to the NHS. So these are the 99%. Yes, the 1% pay taxes. That is if they do, and they're not having some offshore account somewhere, and businesses somewhere where we don't know how we can trace them to pay those taxes in the first place. And you're talking about actually the lockdown during COVID. We're talking about lockdown during COVID. Who was the Prime Minister having party after party while people are stuck in their houses and stuck in not being able to go and see family members who are dying and who need to be by their side? So I think we have to look at things very relatively and actually look at the facts as well before we kind of say, well, this is what's happening. What about the 1%? Yes, it's good for the 1% to pay taxes. They should and they must, and even more.
And let's not scare them off. There you go. There you go. The mask has slipped,
We
Fatima.
want to make it more lucrative for them to be able to pay the taxes.
We
They
caught
must
you
pay their taxes,
red-handed.
Mark.
We caught you red-handed.
Yes.
You want the 1% to pay more. And you know what happens with that 1%? They leave Britain and they go somewhere else with all of their money. But look, you made plenty of fair points, Fatima. Great to have you on the show. Briefly, if you can, Niall Gardner. I've said that Liz Truss is, well, it's not game over, but she's on the canvas and the referee is counting to 10. Is there any hope that she can come back from this? Or, as I've suggested in my monologue, will she be the turkey that's stuffed by Christmas?
Actually, let me just quickly respond to the comments made about Labour. I think a Labour government would be an absolute disaster for Britain, actually, a high tax disaster. They would bankrupt the country. It would also be a government run by the far left, frankly, and they would actually ruin Britain's economy. They have a track record of doing that. So I think let's look at Labour's previous record. With regard to Liz Truss, she's on the ropes. There's no doubt about it. I mean, today has been a devastatingly bad day. Can she survive? I think she can. But the knives are out within the Conservative Party. The sharks are swirling. The next week is going to be critically important for Liz Truss. And if she carries out further U-turns on the economic front, she'll be abandoned, of course, by the bedrock of Conservative grassroots support that is fundamentally important for her. And she was chosen by Conservative voters because she would be a strong Conservative leader.